Sure. All right, let's call the meeting to order, please. Board, I don't see Mark Berman in the ordinance, so put him down as excused, please. First item on the agenda, consideration of the meeting minutes from December 8th, 2021.
Want to move these till after we're done with everything, or you want to do this
That's
first?
fine. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
SPR 2021-01, map 112, lot 18, Clark Littleton Hospital, amend site plan review approval. All right, who's speaking for this? Kathy?
Let me sit up here.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. First, I wanted to introduce some of our team that's on the Zoom meeting. So we've got Bob Nutter, who is president and CEO of Littleton Hospital. We've also got Jeff Woodward, who is the board president, and Ryan St. Cyr, the director of support services. In addition, Adam Mason is with Clear Choice. He's the director of facilities. Clear Choice is the entity that will be operating the urgent care facility. Stephen Pernaud is our traffic engineer who did the traffic study for us. And we've also got Mark Bowden, who is LRH's attorney on the Zoom meeting. And then in addition to that, MBRE, the developer of the property, Kurt Meyer, Daryl Phillips, and Barb Peliquin. And I believe that's all of them as best I can read with these old eyes of mine. So why we're here tonight is we have an urgent care facility that's ready to start serving your community, with the exception of being able to get our DOT driveway permit. So we're asking for a temporary waiver to issue, for the town to issue a land use compliance certificate before we receive our DOT permit. The reasons for this are, first of all, the project as approved was a 2-lot subdivision with the construction of a 4,000 square foot urgent care facility and a 44,000 square foot medical office building. Most of the traffic is being generated by the medical office building. We're only here tonight to talk about the 4,000 square foot urgent care facility that is ready to open. And as you know, DOT issues driveway permits based on increased traffic and, you know, concern for intersections and whatnot. And so our traffic study that we completed showed that there's only 10 trips generated by the urgent care facility during the peak afternoon hour, which occurs in August for Railroad Street. Hobo Railroad, which generates the majority of traffic on Railroad Street, is closed until May. So currently there just plain old is not a lot of traffic on that road right now. We are continuing to work with DOT, and we know we do need to get a permit. We're just asking for a temporary waiver. Our traffic study recommended some improvements, and DOT also recommended some improvements. And those improvements include a 2-exit lane, put a yellow stripe down Railroad Street near the intersection, create a left and right hand turning lane. Also put the stop bars in both at the intersection of 112 and Railroad Street, as well as at the railroad crossing like you typically see. They also asked for some revisions to the traffic study, which Steve is working on in terms of some of the existing developments and traffic conditions. So we're working on those items. Some of the other recommendations that DOT has asked us to do, we are kind of out of our control because they're not on town property and they're not on property that we own. One of the items is a slip lane at Donovan Drive, which would require us to do some paving on private property. We've been talking with the property owner to see if we can get permission for that. They've also asked for a raised island at Rogers Ski Shop to better control traffic in and out of that business. Conversations with the property owner as well as the town, fire chief, police department do not recommend that raised island. DOT has also asked for a gate at Connector Road. Again, the property owner uses that access, so does not want to put a gate up. They've also asked for head-in parking, the head-in parking at Rogers, a concern about backing out traffic to Railroad Street. And again, that would have an adverse impact on Rogers' business. The other item was a sidewalk extension. And again, that's on private property that we have no control over. The property owner does not want to put a sidewalk on his property. So those are some items that we're still trying to work through with DOT in order for us to get the permit. I know that another condition of the approval that we had received was that the developer would pay for all of the improvements associated with the DOT permit, with the exception of routine and regular maintenance items on Railroad Street. And so we do have a $75,000 bond in place that was put in place to make sure that we constructed the detention pond and some of the work on site according to the plan. The detention pond is in. Phase 1, the 4,000 square foot building is in. So we believe that that $75,000 bond is more than enough to cover the cost of some of these DOT improvements. So LRH, Littleton Regional Hospital, is willing to keep that bond in place so that that these improvements will get done. And I guess the only other item that I wanted to mention is that because this is a facility to serve the community, and we're in unusual times with the pandemic and the fact that the governor has asked that all facilities, healthcare facilities, be open as much as they can to help deal with this COVID issue. We don't feel that this would be a precedent-setting decision for the board in terms of allowing us to have that land use compliance certification before we have our DOT permit in place. I think that's it in a nutshell, what I wanted to say.
So you're really only looking for a waiver of the driveway permit conditions for the urgent care, not the larger building.
That is correct, only for the 4,000 square foot urgent care, yes.
Sounds like you have, still have a few hoops to jump through. I mean, what happens if you don't secure, the easements for the sidewalk or the paving on Donovan Drive?
Well, the letter that we got from DOT stated those as recommendations, not requirements.
Mhm.
I know that Jim had a conversation with Ray where maybe there was a different thought there in terms of whether they were recommendations or not. But we cannot do something on another person's property if they don't allow us to. Our traffic study did not recommend these improvements. So therefore, we feel pretty comfortable with the improvements that we're looking to do in terms of some of the striping and lanes and whatnot. We're putting in the good effort. We're doing our due diligence and sharing with the property owners what these things mean and trying to get their approval. But that's kind of out of our control.
Mm-hmm.
And we hope that DOT will recognize that.
Paul,
Do we have anyone from DOT here tonight?
is anyone here from Department of Transportation?
Yeah, can the record,
Ray has talked to them and
Right, Ray's gonna weigh in.
can the record show that they're not here? Because I know last time we had made a comment that if they wanted to be here and make comments, they should be here.
Well,
So
they're-
just
I mean,
please
they're
let the
involved-
record,
They're involved in the process.
correct, but just let the record show that they're not here tonight.
Right.
From my, the question I have for you, Kathy, is would you be willing to, I know the bond being in place is a really good idea to take a look at things down the road in the future, but what would you think about waiting until after the second phase of the medical office building is done and do a traffic study then to help alleviate some of the concerns and give some more credence and information to whether or not that island seems to be the real sticking point here. And it might be better off to wait and see how much traffic is really generated once that office building is built. Once the project is completed in totality, then we can have that information to be able to figure out whether or not that island is even necessary. If it doesn't generate any more traffic than is there now, the island might not be necessary, and DOT might then, they'll have more information to look at as to exactly how many, because it's hard to guess how many cars are gonna go by there. I mean, so to me, it would make sense to get more information once it's totally done.
I mean, you're right, and that's part of, you know, the study that we did. Steve has been doing these studies for years, and so we make our best estimate. But one thing I will say about that traffic island is that is actually on DOT property, so they could do
I understand.
what
but
they
the-
choose to do there.
Correct, but the town, if I'm not mistaken, the town is the one that owns the road and has the curb cut for that road, right? Because they own the
There's the
road.
maintenance on it also.
Pardon me?
There's the maintenance up there, but. I understand.
Correct. So the town's the one that's responsible for that curb cut and that entrance in there. So they would have to work, and the town is the one that we made the original agreement to say that we'd have to work with the DOT and the owners there. This island is something that's come up since the DOT's, made their recommendations, and I don't think it's fair to the property owner that's going to make that decision right now until all items are in place, and then they could do a real traffic study to see what's actually coming in and going out. And that $75,000 bond, it's there. All we would need to do would be to amend our approval to say that, leave that $75,000 bond in place until after the medical office, as we're done. Within a year after that, they do a traffic study. And then we would know, and it would give us, it would give the property owner a little more time. It would give the DOT a little more time. It would give more information to be able to make that decision.
I mean, I think the bond stays in place until the project is completed.
Well, but that's not what I'm hearing tonight. Tonight I heard the project that the bond was in there was for just the urgent care, not the whole thing.
Well, sometimes communities release portions of the bond as you complete the work. So I guess my point was that some of the work has already been completed. So we're not looking to release any portion of that bond, just as kind of a good faith effort.
We would have to have a hearing before we release the bond.
Yeah,
Would you be willing to leave the bond in place until the completion of the whole project?
that's a question. I think if we could take your questions one step at a time, and maybe Steve Perna could weigh in on whether it makes sense or if there's going to be any different outcomes if we wait until the facility is open, since he's our traffic engineer.
Hi, Kathy. Is the board able to hear and see me?
Yeah.
So your question, why don't you rephrase the question, Kathy?
So Paul is asking if we should complete a traffic study once both facilities are open to see what actual traffic is versus what we're predicting, if that will really make any substantial difference in our numbers or our proposals.
Yep, well, I guess I have a couple of thoughts about that. The first is, I guess it was Paul said it is difficult to estimate traffic, and as a guy that's been doing this for over 30 years, I agree completely. Number two, if we are going to do a post-development count, we have to do it in like July or August when Hobo Railroad is running. For our traffic study, Hobo was closed, so we had to jump through some hoops and come up with some estimates. So if we're going to do a post-development count, it really ought to be done in July or August to be meaningful. And the third point I want to make is that even with that data in hand, and again, I come from more data is better than less data. I'm not so sure it's going to help anybody decide whether that sidewalk extension or median in front of Rogers is needed or not. My own view is I think the DOT would like to see that wide open curb cut for Rogers reduced in size just based on existing conditions. It has nothing to do with urgent care or the medical office building. So again, we can certainly do post-development counts. That's fairly straightforward and easy. And it would provide the department with additional data. And what we could do is counts in and out of in and out of the ski shop and in and out of Donovan and the hotel as well. So that's again a possibility, and it might help others make a decision, but I'm really not so sure if if we count 150 or 250 cars in a peak hour, if that's going to make any difference to the DOT.
Paul, you have another question?
Yeah, I just had a follow-up. We don't have to accept the DOT recommendations, do we? Does the town have to accept the DOT recommendations to do anything?
I mean, we
Because,
can-
I mean,
we certainly can say we don't think the island belongs there, but is that what you're asking?
yeah, I mean,
The Board of Selectmen have already written a letter.
right, that's what I was gonna say. The Board of Selectmen have written a letter pretty much saying, wait and see. Mine's kind of like a wait and see, but it's given some, to get some more definitive information so that maybe the town could look at it then as well as the DOT. And it would give the applicant a little more time to try and find a different way around how he's gonna, he's probably gonna lose 10 or 12 spaces down there. I mean, so, it seems to me like it would be nice to give them the ability to be able to, take some time to react to that as well.
Yeah,
And I think by wait until, do you have any idea when that medical office building is gonna be constructed?
Bob, do you have a schedule on the medical office building construction?
Yeah, we're in the, hi, this is Bob Nutter. We're in the middle of doing some planning on that project again. And as soon as that's done, which will be sometime probably by August or September, the construction window, assuming if we were able to get that done, would be somewhere between 26 and 28 months. So it's going to be, probably close to 3.5 years from today. Best case.
Right. And that's what I was kind of sort of figuring, that maybe 2 or 3 years down the road, it buys everybody a little bit more time to react to this and to build some more information. And that's,
But we can't wait 2 or 3 years to get our driveway permit.
I'm not saying that. What I was saying was to grant the permit so you could get it, but to put a condition in there that after the completion of the project, there would be a traffic study done, and then the determination will be made as to whether or not to put the island in. Because then you've got all the information necessary to make that decision, because it'll be real-time data. And it will give the applicant not the applicant, the person who doesn't want the island or wants the island, whatever it is, at least a couple, 2 or 3 years to be able to try and figure out what they're going to do with the loss of parking and things like that.
I think one thing
Have a
that's,
medium ground is what I'm saying.
what's difficult for that is that the construction of the urgent care and medical office building is not really have an impact on that island. That island is more about existing conditions. So why would we put a condition on this new project that is something that it's not creating or perhaps even affecting as much as the existing building? It seems like it would make more sense for Rogers, the town, and DOT to figure out a solution and to leave Littleton Regional Hospital out of it, because again, DOT owns the property, the town has the right of way, and Rogers utilizes the property. What does Littleton Regional Hospital have to do with that piece of land is
Because
kind
Littleton
of,
Regional
Like,
Hospital is
yeah.
the reason for the permit.
Right,
You're the one triggering it.
we're
Well, I guess
making up for sins of the past, yes.
right. And I guess if I was to comment on that, also, I would say that had I known that there was going to be an island like that at the beginning of your application, I probably would have said, let everybody meet beforehand so we could have resolved it before your application was ever even accepted or completed. But we're now after the fact and trying to look at the best way to keep everybody happy, and give everybody a little more time and still get you up and running. And to me, that's why I thought about this.
Steve,
It kind of seems to me like we put the cart before the horse. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't want to make a move until we make sure that Dave is okay. I'm not gonna screw him up. I don't like the sounds of it.
Joe,
I get several comments. One, if you put that curb in front of Dave Rogers' place, granted, you lose some park places, but it's almost impossible to back out of the one and without hitting the curb or driving over it. DOT made a comment about the railroad post on the other side being hit and knocked over. But I found out since the one on Route 3, the 112 has been hit 3 times, 2 or 3 times, if I'm not mistaken, on the state right of way, but on the other side. Thirdly, you did on the traffic study you did not take it for a fact. The data from 2 to 3 years ago, when the ice castle was there, they were doing 1,000 cars an hour in and out for about 10, 12 hours a day. That wasn't taken into account. And Dave Rogers and his people there had no problem with the time, neither did the town, except for the amount of traffic coming in the town, which was backed up 93, which does that in ski day anyway. And thirdly, because you're coming in, triggers them looking at Dave Rogers' property. He's been here all his life trying to build a business from ground up. And it's like saying, you've been there all your life, you don't come in with a large amount of money. Therefore, you're not insignificant unless you're bringing big bucks into our state. That's just the way I look at it.
And that's part of why we're pushing back and saying that we don't think that that island is necessary as part of this project.
You also have a letter from the governor saying the town can refuse the island. I don't know if you've seen that or not.
I have not seen that.
Came from Governor Sununu. I have a copy of it. I don't, you have a copy or not?
it's right here, there's another copy.
I saw this about a week ago. Which said, which would override the DOT. I don't know if you've seen the letter or not, Paul.
Yeah,
This one, I put on your desk when we started.
Governor Sununu office.
Adam Crapo, Policy Director, Officer of Governor Christopher Steeson.
yeah, right, that's what I said. There was another one prior to that as well.
So, I mean, I think no one thinks that we need to put an island there, so I'm not sure why we want to condition anything.
Well, I think
Go ahead.
the reason that we have to condition it, Kathy, is because if we give you the ability to go in there and open up your operations, and the DOT comes in and just tells the town they're gonna do this, and with no avenue for public hearing, the applicant, I mean, the abutter, he's not the abutter, Dave Rogers doesn't really have a public forum to come in and express his grievance or to discuss whether or not he likes it. Whereas had we known this at the beginning, like I said, probably Mr. Rogers would have come in and said something. And that's why we need to make this as a condition. I mean, I don't think making it a condition does anything different to you other than it really does nothing. It really does nothing different. It just pushes out, except for maybe pushing out the $75,000 bond until the second part of the project's done. It really doesn't do anything because we're still saying that we're gonna do a traffic study and we're gonna see what the real-time traffic is, and then a decision will be made. If the decision is made in 3 or 4 years that that island has to be in there after looking at the real-time traffic, then it'll have to be put in there and the bond is there to either do it or not. So it really doesn't do anything negative to you. It allows you to open up, it allows you to continue building. It just puts that caveat on it that I think protects everybody, gives time.
I think Joe had his hand up first. Go ahead, Joe.
If you keep talking about the bond, there is another option we could do. They meet all the criteria for the building. We could release that bond, put a contingent in, when they start the other projects, they're looking for another bonding.
Why not?
What's $7,500 a year extra in the budget, 10% of the bond is they require.
Oh, Joe.
OJ, the question?
I think we're convoluting this whole request. I mean, they're not asking for the bond to be released.
Right.
They're not asking
Yeah.
to, to change the conditions, they're looking, I mean, it's pretty clear, they're asking that the facility be granted a land use compliance certificate and operate prior to obtaining the New Hampshire DOT driveway permit. That's a pretty simple request. They're building a 4,000 square foot building and a 44,000 square foot building. And they're not objecting to the condition, they're not objecting to the process, they're asking just, can we allow this little piece to operate and put the whole convoluted conversation on the driveway permit off? Let that building open up. It's not gonna influence the traffic to the point where we're gonna have, you know, some major cluster down there. We've already had the ice castles there. The hobo and the mini golf aren't operating right now. Let them open up this small little building. And then as we proceed, we can go forward with whatever makes sense to solve the issues of the driveway permit.
But we don't have anything that protects Dave Rogers from putting that island in, except for saying no to this permit until the DOT has made their decision. And then once the DOT has made that decision, they're gonna let us know, and we can weigh in on whether or not we support it or not, and then move on from there.
We can do that with part 2 of their project.
Well,
There's
we could
nothing-
just say no,
there's
we
nothing
could just
that
say,
interferes
we
with
could
what
just say
we're
no
saying.
to part 1 to the approval of a permit, and wait till DOT says what they want to do, and then figure that one out too.
And how does that benefit anyone?
It allows us to have the DOT say that they definitely want that, and who's gonna pay for it? I suppose the applicant pays for it.
The applicant has to pay.
We-
So the applicant would have to work with the DOT to put that island in.
Which they're gonna have to do that with, and they have a $75,000 bond. They're not arguing with that. They're
I-
agreeing,
I don't think they need to do that, and I don't think that we ought to support that.
I don't either. I've put that in a letter from the selectmen.
Well, I
I
understand, but
signed that letter to the governor. Okay, so I'm agreeing with you,
I hear you.
but allowing this 4,000 square foot building to open is not gonna influence that. If the DOT comes out and demands, okay, and we have to do it, opening up this building is not gonna influence anyone's decision or actions related to that.
Why do we have to do what the DOT says? And I asked that earlier.
That's a good question to ask as the new building gets built.
This is not convoluted at all. This is all stuff we should have talked about a long time ago.
I don't understand that philosophy. When they applied for this, they didn't know that that's what the DOT was gonna recommend.
Now we know.
They're not gonna apply for a DOT permit prior to coming to us for approval. You know, you're asking them to go out and engineer and build and, you know, figure out this whole thing before they have permission from us?
But-
That's not reasonable.
But
I'm
the
sorry.
DOT permit gets filed by the town of Lincoln, not by the applicant.
Right.
Because
it
it's-
is
We- the
actually-
town Lincoln's
The
the
town is the applicant.
The town would have,
town is
to
the
right.
applicant.
So if the town doesn't file for that DOT permit, then nothing changes.
Okay, and if we allow them to build, to occupy this building right now, how does that change your statement?
If you allow them to occupy the building right now,
Small building.
they could go ahead and put the island in,
Why would they do that?
because the DOT might want.
I don't think
Would say
there's any
they
talk
want
of the town not applying for the permit.
What's that?
I don't think the town is not gonna apply for the permit. Is that what you're saying? If
Yeah.
we don't waive that condition, the town won't apply for the permit?
Already did apply for it.
We already
It's
applied.
already applied.
It's in the process.
It's in process. That's all we're asking for is a waiver while we continue the process with DOT. There has to be some give and take and some back and forth because it's not like our property abuts the highway and we have control of everything that's being asked for. There's other parties involved and with the you know, DOT, there's, again, we're in conversation with them, so we're just looking for a waiver. The town will have the opportunity to comment on that permit because it's actually the town permit. I can't submit it without, Nate is your agent. So I can't submit it without Nate agreeing to whatever we're submitting.
So if you got approval back in May of 2021, 9 months ago, how come it's taking this long? You still don't have your permit. Is there a reason for the delay?
I think like a lot of agencies, DOT is overworked. We had our initial scoping meeting with DOT back in April of 2021. We conducted our traffic study. We submitted the application. We got a comment letter back. We addressed those initial comments. We got a second comment letter back, and we're in process of addressing those comments. So we submitted the driveway permit, I don't know, 6 months ago, 9 months ago. I honestly don't know the date of when we submitted it, but we did submit it, and we're working through the comment letter with them. And again, the letter that I have states that we recommend an island. It's not we require an island. So, you know, that's kind of where I see room to work with DOT and figure this out with them.
Your traffic engineer has weighed in on the island?
It was not, Steve can speak for himself, but it was not part of our traffic. When we completed the traffic study, that came up with some suggested improvements. A traffic island was not one of them.
Any board member have any more questions?
You know, this letter from DOT actually says we can give the permit without having improvements, if town doesn't want it. Read it entirely,
Do you have a copy?
Yeah. It says it's the town's,
Read the whole thing.
Yeah.
let me just read it out.
Yeah.
You want to read it? All right. Alan Crapo, dated Thursday, February 17th, 2022, 2:33 p.m. Hi, David. I spoke with DOT after our conversation. DOT has already made their recommendations to the town to put an island in there. It's the town's permit, and it's up to them how they'd like to implement it. It's my understanding that the planning board is voting on the permit on February 23rd, 2022. They could either accept DOT recommendations or issue the occupancy permit without DOT recommendations. I'm sure the planning board would be willing to hear your thoughts on the permit and whether an island should be put in at the meeting on the 23rd. I hope that helps. Best, Adam J. Crapo, Policy Director, Office of Governor Christopher T. Sununu.
And just to speak that, the agenda tonight is not a discussion amongst the planning board of whether we're going to accept the DOT recommendations or not. It's simply to allow an occupancy permit or land use compliance certificate to the small 4,000 square foot center and leave the same condition that they already have in place on the bigger building, which is gonna be the bigger amount of traffic.
Technically, they're asking for a waiver of the driveway permit as a condition for the small buildings. What really is being
That's
asked
all
here.
they're asking for. And to leave it in place, to leave the bond in place, leave everything else in place for the bigger building.
Any more questions from the board?
I just would like to know how we can protect Dave, you know, a year, so they're gonna come pull his pants down or what, you know?
I don't know.
They'll do what everybody else has, a small business on the main highway.
Mm.
Not just Dave, the whole town will be affected by it.
We've never, I don't know if we've ever, my question would be, have we ever given a waiver for a certificate of occupancy, which now is called a land use compliance permit, without having all of the permits being submitted?
I don't know if you've ever had two buildings like this where one is 10% of the size of the other one, and they're asking just for the 10% to be allowed without the.
But that's like a development coming in saying, well, we're all, you know, we're only gonna build, we've only built 25 of the 200 buildings. Can we occupy those? I mean, it's kind of.
I guess I would be interested in hearing how granting this would be any sort of a detriment to the town? Do we really think there's gonna be a traffic issue? I mean, we've seen when the Hobo's open, we've seen when the golf course is open, we've seen when the ice castles have been there. Do we think this 4,000 square foot building is really gonna increase the congestion to a point where the planning board needs to say no?
I think that the 4,000 square foot building is part of the bigger picture. And that, as the traffic engineer just said, it's nice to have the real-time data to be up when you're trying to make decisions. But, I mean, I don't want to hold them up either, but I do have a concern that the surrounding property owner, Dave Rogers, may not be being protected. Is he being protected in the best way possible by allowing this waiver to happen? I guess I still have a question about that. I don't feel good about doing it because I don't know that it helps protect them. I can't answer all your questions right now as to why, but I think that
So it
I
just,
just don't like the leaving that property on. We're supposed to be here to help protect everybody and keep everybody going, you know, and while I would like to offer the waiver too, I still would like to have some sort of reasonable assurance that the DOT or the town working with the DOT is gonna work hard to work for Mr. Rogers, who's been a long time business person in Lincoln in his benefit.
So am I hearing that you think that giving them the certificate of the land use compliance certificate is going to detriment Dave Rogers by
The only reason
somehow
I think it might detriment him,
not
because
rushing this?
the only reason I think it might detriment him is because they won't have the real-time data from that part and the other part all together. And you won't get that until it's all built.
but the request for this island really has nothing to do with traffic volume. What it's about is that the state likes to have, I think what they call controlled access
Queuing.
points, no more than 50 feet wide. And so that's what the request is really all about. It's about creating a controlled access point in close proximity to 112 Railroad Street intersection. Whether we generate 10 cars or 100 cars, the volume doesn't change DOT's desire to have a controlled access point. Now, the fact that that business has been operating in that manner for decades, has some implications for what DOT is asking for. So, we are going to continue to work with DOT and, again, push back on these recommendations because they have, as Rogers has stated, detrimental impacts to their businesses. But you have to think about the impacts to the community and opening a healthcare facility we're on the end of a pandemic, but still we're in a healthcare crisis. And what is the benefit to the community? The town, as the applicant for this driveway permit, has the final say on what they're gonna put in. It's the town right of way, it's the DOT right of way. So
Couldn't the DOT withhold approval if the town didn't want to do what they recommended?
The access has already been granted to the
What's that
state.
again?
The access has already been granted from River Street
Well,
to
let's
112.
not lose sight of the fact that we have
I mean, I guess-
currently a medical center in town, so.
Yeah.
It's
We
not
do
the
not have
only,
an urgent care center. There's a sign right in the door that says, if you need urgent care, go to Littleton or Plymouth.
well, we still have a medical center. I'm not saying it's not, it wouldn't be nice to have. I'm just saying that we still have a medical center here in town.
Kelvin wanted to ask a question.
No, I just wanted to point out that we do have other developments where, like in South Peak where they didn't do the whole infrastructure first, that they did part of it and we allowed that to happen. And then they came back and did additional portions of the infrastructure. And so I don't think it's a stretch for these. to do the land use compliance certificate for a smaller portion of the.
Go ahead, Joe.
I just think the town should probably go and give the permit. They were getting, stating in the permit that we did totally disagree with DOT's recommendations. So they get the facility open.
Anyone else have any questions? Ray Corber, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
Yeah, just a couple of points. First off, as far as the raised island, because that seems to be the most, I guess, the most talked about issue anyway.
Did we freeze or did we?
We lost you, right?
Just have to go to project.
At the intersection in the right-hand turn lane and
Hey, Ray, could you start over because we lost you when you started?
okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Excuse me. So just to, again, to start from the top, Kathy and Steve are correct. I wouldn't focus any attention on the traffic counts with respect to the raised island. The raised island is a control measure to try to mitigate potential conflicts between folks coming out of the parking area of the Rogers Ski Shop and getting into the turning lanes at the intersection. So it's really to control the drive entrance. So focus in on that and think about the raised island issue in those terms. And then I just want to also emphasize that Kathy's also correct. The raised island that's being proposed is completely within the DOT right of way. And the DOT, in fact, has an agreement with Rogers Ski Shop to keep their parking lot and have access on the DOT right of way. So that the issue of the raised island, from my standpoint, is really between the Rogers Ski Shop and the DOT. I don't necessarily see that the town really needs to even get involved in that per se, unless you absolutely want to. You can certainly, support Rogers Ski Shop. And I believe, as OJ had mentioned, the Board of Selectmen did send a letter to the DOT in that regard. So the DOT is well aware of the town's position, and the town's position was articulated very clearly to the DOT with respect to that issue.
But the town can't refuse the island if they insist on building it, is that right?
No, what's going to happen in my conversation with the DOT, what's going to happen is they're going to put whatever terms and conditions they think are appropriate in the driveway permit. And if the raised island is in there, the raised island is going to be in there, and it's going to be made a condition of the permit. My response back to the DOT on that issue is you have full control over whether or not the raised island goes in or not. The town does not have any control because the raised island is totally within the DOT right of way. So the town has no control or jurisdiction as to whether or not that island goes in my opinion. It's strictly between the DOT and the Rogers Ski Shop.
And Ray, how much longer before they can get their driveway permit, do you think?
Well, the DOT sent their request for additional information back in, I think it was December 21 was the date on their letter. And talking with Kathy, I understand that, and Kathy had mentioned that they're working to put all their response to comments together. I think, Kathy, correct me if I'm wrong, you're just waiting on the traffic study portion of that. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, we've got a few more points to finish up on that. We'll be submitting our response in March.
Okay, so Jim, to answer your question, the next step here is for Horizons Engineering to submit that information to the DOT in response to the DOT's December letter, and give DOT an opportunity to respond back. We did send the town staff sent the letter to the DOT on each one of those issues that Kathy identified earlier in the conversation, with the town's position on each and every one of those issues. So the DOT has heard from the town, and we made the Board of Selectmen's letter part of that submission to them so that they understood directly from the board what the board's position was relative to the raised island. So the DOT has all the information necessary in the town's input, and they're just waiting for the Horizons to submit a response to their request for information.
Paul, do you have a question?
Yeah, I guess if we don't have anything to say, the DOT, there's nothing we could do, but, I mean, it seems kind of odd that, I don't know how long Roger's been there now, but they've been there for a while. And the DOT, if they were really concerned about backing out in there, they would have put that, they could have put that in when that building was built, or they could have, anytime they could have done that, and they haven't done it yet. Kind of makes me wonder why they're suggesting that go in there now if it's not related to the new applicant. But I guess if we are being told that we don't have anything to say about whether they do that or not, I would at least like the planning board to send a letter of support recommending that we don't think that island is necessary, and we would not like to see it put in, following up with what the Board of Selectmen's done. So at least the DOT will see that. And I think we should highlight the fact that they could have put this island in at any time from the time Mr. Rogers constructed that, all the way, for all the years they haven't done it. It just
Intersection was
seems odd.
forgotten until they applied.
Yeah, I know, but look, it just seems odd that they want to do it now. You know, I mean, just something's just a little awry here.
Excuse me, Jim. Paul, I think I might shed a little bit of light on that. In my conversation with the DOT, they admitted that they probably should have addressed these issues long ago. They should have addressed the issues when the hotel went in. So their position at this point is, you know, should we have done it before? Yes. And, you know, this is our next bite at the apple. And so that's why they're doing it now.
Better late than never, I guess, huh?
Kelly, question?
No, they had told me that they were never notified of the other projects that are over there.
Okay.
So that would have been the time for them to respond.
You think they know that you got a big chunk of land that's not gonna stay vacant?
I don't know,
Commercial zone.
they said they didn't have
They
any.
dropped the ball on that.
Go ahead, Joe.
Also, my recollection is the state has the jurisdiction over the curb cut to go into that road. But do they own and the road is actually owned by the town? There's a conflict here. Do we go by DOT regulation in front of Dave Rogers or by the town? Does the DOT own the land in front of Dave Rogers?
Maybe I can help with that. So according to the information that Horizons has sent, a portion of the road is actually within the DOT right away. The proposed right turn lane, half of that right turn lane sits in the DOT right away. The other half sits in the town right away.
Does that mean they're gonna maintain that part of town road for us?
I'm sorry?
Does that mean they're gonna take over maintaining that part of the road for us? Get down on taxes?
That's probably unlikely.
I don't think they're that generous, Joe.
That's what I'm saying. They're not paying the taxes to maintain it. Leave us alone.
You can certainly say that, but I think the state would probably take exception to that. I think my experience dealing with the state and their property is they'll decide what they want to do within their own right of way.
Anyone have anything else? Is there a motion to open up public comment?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Public comments open. Any members of the public like to speak? Dave?
There's not much I can say right right at the moment, but as Joe said, really ice caps are going by us with over 1,000 cars an hour. This was 3-4 years ago, and it went for 4 years like that, and we never had a problem. We never had a problem in between with anybody getting out. We've been there for 39 years, and we've never had a problem with traffic or anybody in any accident at that point in time. And putting the island in would affect our business, our ability to do business to a great extent. We at this point in time employ about 40 people in this town. And we significantly do other stuff in the town and for town people and for people in the community. And I think everybody has to work with each other.
And most of them residents of the town. Yes, how much of the development, they most of them be working, committed to work from out of town. At least Dave Rogers puts money back down by employing people from the town.
It's pretty
Anyone else
sad
like,
to hear about this too, at this point. We've been there for so long.
I didn't hear that.
It's pretty sad that we hear it at this point, when we've been there for so long. That they can have such control.
If you look at the note we got from the governor's office, the planning board has the rights to override the DOT.
That's what I interpreted.
They didn't say we could override it. They said we could either accept or not accept their recommendations.
Right.
But not accept, and that's why I was suggesting that letter,
I mean, basically,
stating that we did not, for the DOT at least. I don't know how much weight that would carry, but probably not any more than the Board of Selectmen's letter going out. If they want to do it, they'll do it because they own the land. But I mean, at least they will have done it with the planning board and the Board of Selectmen both saying they don't want to do it. And in the future, the board, it'll be remembered.
anyone else like to speak? So motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, any other questions from the board? Carol, do you have anything? Carol, you have one more thing?
I'd just like to thank the board for supporting us.
Oh, happy to do so.
And I would also like to thank you guys for supporting us and helping us along. Thank you very much for your time, your effort. I appreciate it. You got, we've sent a letter to DOT stating what we've just stated tonight. The board.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any further discussion? Take a motion to grant the waiver as requested.
I'll make a motion that we grant the waiver as requested. As long as we sent that letter to the DOT from the planning board. I want that on record.
Okay, so why don't I have Carol draft a letter and she can send it to you individually for comment. Then, once the final draft is approved, I will sign it.
I think we need something on record stating that we don't think it's necessary. Or we think it, or that we think it should at least wait until after the other medical office building is done and real-time data can be got, that would at least give 3 or 4 years to be able to for Dave Rogers to be able to maybe find an alternative solution.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I'm gonna say no.
Okay, so 4 yeses and 1 no, so that motion carries 4-1. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thanks, David. Allen. Good luck. Next item, a couple of voluntary lot mergers. Samuel W. Brooks and Laura Coleman of 9 Casella Road, Lincoln. SW11 4AGN own 2 lots in the landing at Blue Mountain, development with the address of 8 Back 40 Road, map 132, lot 54, 0.73 acres, and 6 Back 40 Road, map 132, lot 55, 0.86 acres, for a combined total of 1.59 acres. Is there anyone here to speak on this? Okay. So basically, you have to prove it unless it.
I'd like to make a motion that that voluntary mergers be done by, that we make our planner.
Okay, well, that's a
I'll
matter
point
for
out
another,
that.
that's a matter for another meeting.
Why, can't we do that
Right now,
now?
we're
Let her do
discussing this
that?
application, so. I mean,
Because we really
I think
don't
we
have
should
to-
have that noticed.
The RSA doesn't require us to meet to do this.
We keep
Right.
them informed of what's going on though.
It doesn't require us to meet for this. I think it's a waste of this board's time to
I mean-
meet for this, because it doesn't, unless it creates a lot that's non-conforming.
It's pretty hard to do if you're at.
Correct. So that's what I'm saying.
Right, well,
That's my
I
point.
mean, I think really it's something, discussion for another night.
I think we can get through it. So then I have another question for you. I do work for the developer of the land. Is there a conflict on this one? I know he's coming in for the next couple, or he's gonna be on the next couple, so if you guys think that it's a conflict, I'll step down.
I don't have an issue. If anyone else does,
I would not have an issue. Again, it's a voluntary lot merger.
Yeah, don't look, I'm just asking. I'm trying to ask for the record, so
On the lot line merger,
I'll make a motion, we approve the,
All three,
all three.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Let's move on.
So Jim, before you leave, if you could just sign the
I'll
original
sign
there,
those. Mhm.
and then I'll assign the correct number for Megan.
Okay.
Can we put on next agenda, taking a look at that, because it certainly,
Well,
we
yeah.
really don't need extra stuff on the agenda, so it would make sense to make Carol the
Designate.
designee to be able to look at lot line. I mean merges, I'm sorry, voluntary merges.
So let me just read these out. 12 back 40 road, 14 back 40 road, and 16 back 40 road for a combined total of 1.832 acres, or 79,798.57 square foot. First survey submitted by applicant. And last one is Joe E. Lynch, DBA Moon Landing Development LLC. 15 back 40 road, map 132, lot 36, 17 back 40 road, map 132, lot 37, for a combined total of 1.09 acres, for 47,480 square, 480.4 square feet. All right. Next one, Ethan J. Conley and McManus, 43 Forest Street, Plastow, New Hampshire, 03865-2608, map 114, lot 49. Development of a lot on Mansion Hill, land only, map 114, lot 49, 16.7 acres in rural residential district.
You might
Yeah,
have had the wrong address.
I'm sorry.
I didn't have an address. I was
Oh,
trying
okay,
to
that
find
works. That
one.
was my old address. How you doing, everyone? Members of the board, I'm Ethan Conley. This is my partner, Kyle McManus. Just want to confirm, we're not here for any approvals. This is just.
right, this is
kind of
strictly
an offline.
conceptual, not
Right,
binding
yeah.
on the parties.
Yeah. So I had called, talked with Chief Beard and Carol well, about a lot that we are planning to buy. Doesn't have a physical address right now, but it's about 16 acres situated at the end of Mansion Hill Drive. And I think it's Birch Hill Road. Abuts the back of the Woodland office condos. And I'm gonna pass around a couple just, these are real conceptual, just, we took off the GIS. We don't have a survey or anything, so. What's up?
I don't really have anything, it's just a.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, this is very, very.
I was looking for it in our packet.
Thank you. So we just briefly reviewed your zoning ordinance. I think what it calls for, single family homes are about 15,000 square feet of land, and duplexes are about a half acre, 22,000 square feet of land. Without doing any engineering or surveying, we just wanted to come and talk to you guys first and just kind of get your thoughts. Are we missing anything? Is there something we should be considering before we spend some significant money on a survey and then ultimately engineering? Our thoughts, just initially walking the land, is to do a couple single family house lots at the top of Mansion Hill, which if you're looking at this conceptual plan, it's the roadway all the way to the left, that's Mansion Hill.
What's the top lots marked 1 through 6?
Yeah, this is a lot right up here up top we're talking about.
No, sorry.
It says 11479.
1 through 6.
Top of the tree, yeah. Lot
Okay.
1. These are all the single families.
Okay, oh, these are, all right.
Right, okay, this would be bigger, and then this would be the both.
Okay,
So it's all this piece.
okay.
A little bit odd shape.
But it's all kind of bolded a little bit. The property outline is, you'll notice, a little bit darker. That's the subject.
I read it as 79, it's 49.
Okay.
So on here, it's lot, what's labeled lot numbers 1 through 8, is
Yeah.
that correct?
1 through 9. 1
Lot
through
9,
9,
I
yeah.
didn't see that.
Yeah, the section 9 is just down the road. We're looking at,
you know, a duplex kind of development. We're probably a little skeptical right now, just what the economy is gonna do, but I think the single family lots up top, and a couple larger lots at the top of, if someone knows that middle road, is it Manor Drive? Manor Drive.
Off the old Fox House.
Yeah, I mean, there gets to be some pretty steep topography. If you look where the box where it says lot 9 on the board, that's pretty steep in there. We'd like to try to avoid, you know, doing anything with that and doing some kind of, I think what you guys call like an open space development or cluster development. Kind of put that in conservation. Obviously, again, this is very preliminary, no engineering, no wetland study, nothing like that, but just wanted to come and get your.
So 24 duplexes.
It was just real simple math
Yeah,
based
no,
on
it's
the,
fine.
but,
I think, you know, if you back out the wetlands and the roads, you probably have less.
yep. Yeah, I don't know what is wet in there and what's not, but
Well, you have a lot of hoops to jump through, I think. A lot of information is gonna be necessary. First, the town, there's traffic that you're gonna generate going down through some of these current residential roads. You got stormwater. You have, the town has water and sewer. You'd have to be able to show that the town has water and sewer capacity, and that there's water and sewer that's in these current roads will handle the developments that you're gonna do.
Elevation based on water pressure.
Right, water pressures, fire department access. So you're gonna want, and I know there's somewhat of a turnaround at the end of that, Denise and Tony Drapos. I don't think there's one on the end of Mansion Hill Drive, but there's a fire department. You know, you'll have to work with the fire chief as far as, you know, what you'd have to do to be able to get that in there.
There is a hammerhead up at the end of Birch Lane.
yeah, the middle drive again escapes my, I think there's somewhat of a hammerhead there at the Manor, I think it's Manor. That one's got, wouldn't call it a cul-de-sac, but
I mean, and if I look at these square footages, you got 15,000 for lot 1, 15,6, lot 2, 15,6, lot 3, 15,6. 6 is 15,4. So by the time you take the road out of those, depending on where you're gonna run your roadway in there, you might be under 15,000 square foot. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I think on the, we're gonna try to keep it a little less, potentially a shared common drive for those, just to keep
Gated
it,
access.
keep it a little more secluded as opposed to going in and blowing a road in and opening it all up. I think
Can you have more than one off of a shared road? Now, I can't remember.
I don't think there's, I'm just, I don't think the zoning requires any road frontage.
Right.
As far as shared access, so I don't know how that works, but, I guess we'll.
Yeah, I know I know in some of the other developments, they've taken it like out of the middle line, so that some on both sides,
Okay,
you know.
all right,
That might help you to be able to get a road up through there.
okay.
Was the only access to this parcel from Mansion Hill Drive?
No, it's all three here, Mansion Hill,
Yeah, okay.
Manor, and then Birch, White Birch.
White Birch,
Yeah,
where
There's
the
a-
pump station is. There's an old
Water,
water pump station with multiple wells. That's a big part of the access point into that as well.
there's a brand new home being built, I don't even, doesn't look like anyone's even moved into it yet at the end of White Birch.
Yeah,
okay.
Really nice.
John Chamberlain.
John,
Yeah, it is.
we moved in 2 months ago.
Oh, yeah, yeah, did a really nice job, beautiful home. So, yeah, I mean, obviously the lower half where we're showing the duplexes, that's gonna be much more significant stormwater, all kinds of things like that, but we're hoping that, single family lots up top are a little more straightforward, but again, until we survey it and really know what we're working with, we're just going off tax maps here, so.
We did have one problem with this development. When Zappalon was in development for condos, remember?
Yep.
Was the traffic study, how it was gonna impact the road coming out to Mansion Hill and Manor Drive.
Onto Pollard or?
No, the one off the Mansion Hill Road. And when it goes up to the end,
Oh, he was gonna connect it, and there was gonna do that was the plan they did back. in the
This one
80s.
here.
It was like in the 80s.
So
There was a
that's the current development that's there now. And if you see, there's a spur that's off to the right, just next to lot 1. Is that the one you're referring to? Because we did look at some of the original
yeah, I think it was back.
preliminary planning from the early 80s.
Yeah, that's not our intention. We're not gonna.
that
tie
was
into
also in
that.
the middle up to 90s.
But did it go that long? The plans that we had, I don't think,
Well, he
the
didn't
plans
go
that we looked at, didn't go that
He
deep.
canceled the agreement with the town, turned the land back over to Legary, and moved to get the North Conway.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that, our intention is, like I said, on Mansion Hill Drive, it's just, I think we're showing 6 single-family homes here, so hopefully that won't warrant a
Carol,
traffic study.
Yeah, just keep in mind that there's a setback requirement for the whole, even though you've got it clustered here.
Yep.
There's still gonna be a 15-foot setback. I think this is that rural residential?
Yes, yeah, are you referring on down here? On that?
Well, all the way around, the front side and back
Yep.
setback is 15 feet, so.
Okay.
Just sort of keep that in your head when you're calculating things.
And structures are considered, for like engineered walls are considered structures.
If they're over 4 feet.
Right.
Over 4 feet.
Over 4.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at those as far as setbacks and stuff like
They have
that.
to be back
sometimes-
beyond the 15 as well.
Right.
What about driveways?
Driveways, I don't think we have anything.
No,
Driveways normally are not
No.
considered.
no.
Okay.
Driveways are.
Also, there is a distance between buildings required too. You look up originally planning board minutes.
Right.
There's a distance of 20 feet between buildings.
20 feet?
You look it up,
Is
it's
there
right.
a fire code?
Well, if we have,
It was recommended to the planning board for that because of fire.
Well, we'd always have 30 feet, just hitting normal
Yeah, okay.
setbacks, minimum.
Just an adding.
Yep,
all right.
yep.
Also, were you expecting town to go the roads?
I
No,
think we're gonna keep them as private. I think we proposed to.
So what are you looking, so you're looking at, so lot,
Paul, I think OJ was speaking.
I'm sorry.
I just have, I don't know if this is a question or a comment, but where the road ends at John and Tricia Cody's, right before lot 1, you're gonna need to continue that road up to access lots 4 and 5.
that's one of the things that we were looking at as a possible common drive, because there's no frontage requirement. So we're, again, it's very preliminary. Maybe it is splitting off and you don't get 6 lots, maybe you get 5 lots.
Okay,
Once you take out the road, we're not 100% certain. Preliminary review of the town planning requirements, things like that. That's one of the reasons that we're here is because there's the written and then there's the intended, and it's trying to find that ground where we can actually do what we're trying to do.
well, I guess my comment on that would be that you could call it a driveway or a private, whatever. If it's a private road, like any other developments in town, that would need to be laid out. And then that does not become part of the square footage you count with the lots. That becomes the square footage of the road. So I think you're gonna lose square footage in all of these lots. I mean, depending on, if you go right up the middle and put half in.
If you look at the back one, lot number 4,
Yeah.
actually has almost 25,000 square feet. So there is a way to push everything a little bit.
Move those, move the
Right, and
lines on
certainly,
here.
yeah,
Just,
That's one of the reasons that we didn't say, okay, 15,000 is the number, right? And because by math, I could fit 7 and 6. By reality, I know that I can't do that because there's no way I can meet setbacks, potential road problem.
Till we engineer. it.
Math gets too deep.
right. And then you are gonna need something that the fire chief approves at the end of that road, whether it's a turnaround or a hammerhead or whatever, but it needs to fit the big truck, so the truck can get in and out. The other question I had is at lot number 7,
Yep,
in between 6 and 7, and right across from lot number 1, what is that?
there's a house actually built there now. That's not a part of this property.
Looks almost brand new as well, maybe
Yeah.
only a year. It's
Okay.
old,
She
yeah.
basically just didn't identify the property.
You
owner.
just-
Kristen Blaze, the teacher at Linwood.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
actually a house there now. It doesn't show it on the aerial.
Okay.
Okay, all right, all right.
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was part of lot 7 or what you were doing with that, but that's not,
No, there's
Yeah,
a,
they cut it up a little funky when they
Right.
stuff, but that's what they,
so you, yeah, okay.
that's what they
That's
did,
fine.
yeah.
So
Paul,
you own lot 9, true, right?
Right now, it's all one lot, yeah, but yes, correct.
But, I mean, you're gonna develop this in lot 9?
Yeah, lot 9 would probably be the last thing, we really want to focus on the single family lots up top, the top of Mansion Hill and Manor first, and then see what the world's doing, and come back to you guys for lot 9. And
I mean, at first, you're just looking to get subdivision approval for the single family lots and then worry about lot 9 later?
Probably,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's gonna be start to break it up, see what we can do with it all, like you said. I mean, I don't think anybody here is saying I want to build a bunch of condos tomorrow. Because who knows where we are.
But really, I think, to get it surveyed, see what's out there for wetlands, topo, things like that, put it all on paper and really fine tune it.
Do you know what the water pressures are? Does anyone know what water pressures are up there?
Limiting factor is 950 feet of elevation.
What, you can't build over that? I think right at the top of this is right around that. I think it's
Yeah,
about 1,000
I think
feet.
Your two top lots, probably from your property line down, probably 15, 20 feet. Is probably the 950 line, and that's the limiting factor in South Peak.
When
It's
the
bottom of
water,
Forest Bridge Bank.
Oh, you're talking for potable water.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I think you're talking
and you
about.
cannot put booster pumps in houses?
Right. New
So-
Hampshire DS doesn't allow booster pumps in single family residential homes.
Right.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch it. Who doesn't allow them?
New Hampshire DS Water
DES.
Division,
Okay.
Randy Suzo.
If,
Do they allow it on duplexes, you know?
how about, would it be, would there be any reason why, if we wanted to do a plot or two there, why they couldn't just drill a well? Is that?
You have to come to the town and discuss that, the board of selectmen.
What?
The town report was put in 1968, privy to the city down there. The town said you had to cut the water and sewer.
Right.
Yeah.
If they could not get the water and sewer line to the lot. If the town can't get water to the lot, they're allowed to drill their own well.
It's happened.
Only, like, it would probably be only on one or two lots.
So when the tank goes in, when the tank goes in, will that change to 950?
I don't think so.
When the tank goes in, at South Peak, will that change to 950 elevation?
If it goes in at the higher elevation.
If it goes in at the higher elevation on the Forest
But I
Service
thought that
property?
was only gonna be fed through the pressure.
It's gonna be controlled through the PRVs.
Right, but isn't that only an emergency or is that, will that feed all the way over to Forest Ridge? I don't know the answer to that question. I don't want to answer.
Well, no, I'm just asking.
I don't know.
When they discussed it at the planning board, I think you're meeting.
So
It's something that during your engineering, you might want to look
Yeah,
I
at.
was gonna say, elevations are gonna be,
I want to
because
have an
there's,
engineer.
there's a ridge.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but they should be.
What we have shows about
Get that-
1,000 feet.
You can put,
Everything is down from the ridge.
yes.
You can put-
Below the 950.
you can put a pump house yourself on that services that whole development if you want.
I think there is one there. There's a,
There is a pump house in
There's an
at least
old one in
6
the
wells.
They have trouble
Yeah,
with
but I,
the
that
water.
the wells don't meet, so that's the wells up on the Gary property.
Yeah,
They won't meet the drinking water requirement.
yeah, I heard
Oh,
that.
no.
But if you were to use town water, I believe the state would allow you, although you can't have an individual one in each house, you can develop a community one.
A port.
Pump house?
Yes.
Okay.
Or it'd be a
Pump house.
properly operated redistribution system.
Redistribution rate.
right.
So my recommendation would be, once you are an engineer, and doing all this studying and look at the topo and placement of homes, then you could have a conversation with Weston Sampson. They could do a site-specific water availability study on that upper part of your property, and coordinate that through the town during the site plan approval process.
Yeah.
That way you know exactly before you spend huge amounts of money in figuring out how you're gonna put a pump system in. You can get it right from the engineers that currently hold our water.
But you'd be able to put a pump station that would service that even if it.
I agree with Ron, but if I remember correctly, about 15, 20 years ago, and I had a hearing in Concord. You could put up a well to service 2 houses Any more than 2 houses, 12 had to be inspected every 2 weeks, results had to be sent into the state.
I would consult with Nate heavily on that. He's more up on that than I
I've
am.
talking about
I've actually
community
done
water
all the
system?
development work and it's
You can have
around
one.
25.
That's one of the things you'd have to
So they have
do.
to go to
It's
another.
other, there's,
3 years to go to another.
they consider a
regulation.
small,
Yeah, I
small
think it's-
value
I think
or
it's more
small
than that.
something,
There is some
water
threshold.
systems.
Yeah,
And I
They're not
agree.
considered a community water system
Right.
supply.
Yeah.
But I also,
You can have 5 or 6 units that have wells.
Yeah, it's 25 people.
Yeah.
There's
Tested
or
requirements.
7 houses.
Right, and,
Hold on,
when
please.
our person is taking minutes, can we talk one
Yeah,
at a time?
sorry, we can have it. Paul,
I just want you to take a look and talk to the Board of Selectmen too. I think you're gonna need to, because even though you're only looking at these 7 lots to start with, or 8, whatever it is, you're gonna need to know about lot 9 and what you're gonna do there, because what's available for water and sewer and pressures within the town, and what, whether there's any, that's part of the time requirement. Am I correct, OJ? That, when the
yeah,
development
but
like
they're
this
just
comes
gonna,
in, they have to show that they, they're gonna want an idea of what they have, so they know what the town's gonna have to supply.
At the appropriate time. They don't need to do that before they talk about lot. They can come here and just do the lot lines, subdivision 1 through 8 with no promises or
Right.
decisions
we're-
about what they're gonna do with lot number 9.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. They may be thinking that, we'll do 1 through 8, and that's, we'll wait a few years, and then we're gonna do 9, but 9 may be where all the profit is in the thing, and if all of a sudden they go to do 9 and there's no water and sewer available, then they're. I
Yeah,
mean,
they
so
have to know
to me,
what
I
they-
would think they would have some sort of agreement.
they
Wanna
have to
have
know
an
what they're
agreement
gonna
with the
develop
town.
this. They don't know
We're
what they're gonna
doing
do.
it on a first come, first served basis. They can't come here and say, well, maybe in the next 10, 15 years, we're gonna build this and we don't we're not gonna be,
We've
Yeah,
done that
we-
with developers. I mean, you got that, right? We've got,
we've not done that since we instituted the first come, first served policy.
I thought first come, first served was gone.
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't want to
Anyway,
confuse the board at all. This was
I-
literally just the bottom half. I mean, for all I know, we could get a guy that's like, hey, I want to build $1 million cabin there, just one house, and we'd be just as happy with that. So I don't know, whatever shows up, and again, we'll see what the world's doing, but we really appreciate your comments and insight. We'll definitely look into the water capabilities, and like I said, we really owe it to everyone to just get a survey done and find out what we have out there, so.
Do you want Ray to comment on any of this? See what they might
Well,
like?
Ray hasn't seen it because. he
Yeah, it's
doesn't
only
have it.
conceptual.
It's a concept.
Yeah, I don't think we're.
Oh, I understand. that. I was just saying,
Joe,
if you can give them benefit of
I
information.
apologize, I missed the first 5 minutes. Are these gonna be a per individual units or a homeowner association type setup?
The upper stuff would the individual lots would be just
Family
individual,
homes.
single families. We are possibly looking at lot 8 as a possible duplex, which would be individual duplexes if we were going to do that. And then lot 9 would be a complete homeowner association. Run through the state, the whole,
Yep.
it's 24 buildings, 48 units. That's going to follow all of the requirements. It doesn't have a choice. It's just too big.
all right.
Carol, you've seen this before. Do they meet the density requirements for the square footage for the number of units they propose?
There's
Well,
no
I think
proposal.
we-
This is just,
I mean, the concept. It's 17 acres times 3 roughly.
I mean, we discussed that.
Let's take where the road is, you get less than that, probably about 50.
Yeah, very preliminary, but,
It's very rough, the
The only other question that I do have is, you had said that water and sewers on a first come, first served basis. If we were to go forward with all the engineering, the whole thing, we would be getting a commitment out of, or when the whole thing comes through, there's a commitment. It's not literally first come, first serve, you're connected, and, oh, we don't have water for you anymore. On approval, we get a commitment from the town for that much water.
correct.
Okay,
Right.
on approval.
Once you're,
Okay,
yes.
just making sure.
Once
Yeah.
approved at the
I've,
planning board,
I've,
or once they come in for their land use permit.
No, once this subdivision is approved.
we get a guarantee of water and
Okay.
Right, it's-
sewer.
And you're
but as
allocated.
part of that, you'll be doing a water.
Water survey and
Correct.
studies to make sure that you guys can support it,
Correct.
yes.
Same as sewer.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone have anything else? All right, good
Good
luck,
luck.
gentlemen.
Awesome,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Yeah, you should. Bill number 2, Mark Stiles, trustee of SNA Offices Realty Trust and DBA Flow State LLC and DBA It's an IM LLC.
Again. As you all recall, I was here back in December looking to extend my special permit and then threw a couple of conceptual ideas at you, and it was at the time very conceptual, but now it's becoming a reality. And I brought the sponsors from Twin Barn Brewery out of Meredith, New Hampshire, to talk about their concept. But initially, I want to point out, right now, we are retail consumer services at 155 Main Street. What we'd like to do is continue to use that category to allow these folks to do what they're doing, and I'll let them explain exactly what they're doing in a minute, and then utilize 153 in its own footprint again, and building up one other floor. So basically extending the roof line and having 2 residences there. So what we're here to talk about is conceptually the concept and whether you all agree that it falls into the category of retail consumer or other non-industrial business, and whether or not we actually need a site plan review, or if we
Well,
simply
you're gonna
need-
construct the tap room. I mean, did email some plans over?
We
So-
did, yeah, we submitted, I'd call it conceptual, but overviews of the interior
They're in your
layout.
packet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's,
That
you'll
makes
find,
sense.
All right, there, Jim.
All right.
yeah, so you'll find an interior layout at least, notional, as well as a site configuration, because we're considering utilization of outdoor space as well.
This is definitely different than what was proposed.
Okay. Should we walk you through what we're,
Yep.
what we're thinking? Okay, so first off, my name is Bruce Walton. Nice to meet you all. One of the co-owners of Twin Barns Brewing. We're down in Meredith, and then my partner is Dave Pickerell. He's here as well. So we've been down in Meredith about 3 years now. So we're a brew pub, right? About 2,000 square feet of tap room down there. It's a little bit bigger. We've got a beer garden and such. We have a 10-barrel brew system. And we serve both on site via taps, and we distribute cans as well. So if you guys are beer drinkers, you might have actually seen some of the beer up here. We're down in Abbey and Wayne's over in Woodstock and Black Mountain Burger, a few other places. Right, so we're up in the area. And we've been interested a while in expanding, and thanks to the state of New Hampshire, who put through a legislation last year, they're allowing breweries like ourselves, who they also term as beverage manufacturers under our license, to have one retail outlet in the state, our choosing, anywhere within the state boundaries. So they call it beverage manufacturer retail outlet. So that allows us to take beer that we brew in Meredith and sell it elsewhere within the state through a singular location. So what it allows us to do is sell our beers prepackaged, so in cans. We do bottles occasionally, but usually cans. It allows us to provide samples. So customers can come, order 4 ounces in a sampler. They can have a flight of samples. They can order a couple of pints if they want, and then hopefully leave with some retail goods. It could be merchandise, it could be prepackaged beer, what have you. But it's definitely, it's a retail environment. Food for us would be limited. It would be enough to say, keep the customers happy. So it's prepackaged food. There's no restaurant license. It's not a kitchen. There's no waitress staff or wait staff. It's really strictly a retail environment. On the second page, you'll see we're considering use of outdoor space. So we have a beer garden down in Meredith. Mark at his property of between 155 and 153 has space that we could use. Ultimately, it's up to you to give us guidance as to, how and if we can use that space.
So that would be all outdoor space?
Well, no, there's a tap room, right? So we're talking about the first floor of 155 Main.
Yeah.
So the tap room or tasting room, you could call it, is going to be in the first floor. It's about 500 square feet of actual patron space. Then there's, bathrooms and storage space, some utility space in there, but the actual active retail space is about 500 square feet. And then
Right, but that's on 150, I'm sorry.
that's 155,
I'm just trying to understand, that's on 155.
correct?
So this thing here is
That's
155.
155, correct? Yep.
And then it's the open space in between, which would be taking down that fence and creating a.
So the open space between 155 and 153 would be where you would put an outdoor beer garden,
Sure.
that would be open.
Like patio space, open, we could serve. The liquor commission's okay with it because in the configuration, we can actually serve from the building in a contiguous space, so we don't have alcohol moving between properties or off-site. We've actually had one conversation with the 3 senior folks within the liquor commission that deal with investigation, as well as the head of New Hampshire Brewers Association. They've seen the plan and the concept, and they were comfortable with it. So it meets the legislation as they envisioned it. So that's all good. So I think what we're looking to understand from you folks is, as long as there's no change to the exterior site, the building remains the same. There's maybe signage. There's no change of use within the first floor of 155. Where do we go from here? Is a site plan review required? Is it waived? Are we ready to go? What do you think?
I think you're going from one use to another.
What did the original approval have? Did it have restaurant in it? I mean, food service,
Office space and apartments.
it had office space and
Office/retail.
apartments, so this is a total
Was retail.
retail, but it didn't really have this, but then, this is a totally different concept than what was, I think, Then what was approved, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, it's,
This is different.
It's,
And it's also got an open space, which is totally different. I guess I'd say it's like, you'd have to come for site plan and review only because there are abutters there, and the abutters would want to be able to look at this, and you would want them to be able to, see if they have any questions or comments and be able to, answer them, I would think.
yeah, I guess and this is where we're learning Lincoln versus, say, Meredith. When we say it's retail and consumer service, it's not a restaurant. So there's really no food service other than you want something out of the fridge, prepackaged. There may even be chips. It's really more about the product and sampling it.
I understand it, but I think your proposed beer garden could lead to noise that might bother abutters. And do you plan on having any music or anything there?
Well, it's just the potential for food trucks, entertainment / bands.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so we'll put it this way. You tell us.
Well,
So-
I mean, look, I think you
So
want-
we'd love to have that, but it depends on how that pivots our use of the space, right?
But I think you should go for what you want
Of
and
course.
then see what abutters say, and then you can react to that, would be my suggestion. I mean, if abutters come in and don't have a problem with it, then you can have which, I would think.
Yeah.
But if abutters have a problem with it, you want to hear that so that you can then tailor it to what you want. That would be my comment, but.
Yeah, and site plan process gives us the opportunity to make those conditions. Right now, if you just move forward with what you got, we can't put any more conditions on that.
Mhm.
But you're really changing what the use of this is. And it looks like you're changing the parking area. Is that correct?
Well, there's 13 spots, so we'd like to use them. Not like we will. I think we changed one area, which is if we ultimately had enough spots, could we put, say, a food truck off to the side for music? The question is, if there's not enough spots, we won't do that. We'll use all the spots as required, right?
How many spots did you say you had?
There's 13 existing, including one handicap.
Wasn't
And that
this,
takes into consideration the food truck and the dumpster.
But the third, so you've got 30 seats in the tap room. And I don't know, so you've got 20 to 24, so you got 50 to 55 seats. How many parking spaces are required for?
One parking space per 4 seats,
4 seats.
plus 10% for employees.
So you need 10 or 11 just for the tap room and the beer garden. And then you gotta have employees.
So that's,
And what
that's
about?
if it's a restaurant.
That's based on a restaurant.
So restaurant.
Well, no, if you're gonna
Well,
have, if you're gonna have employees, I think you gotta have,
Oh, I'm thinking about the 4-to-1 ratio as opposed to a retail, which is very different.
Retail is based on square footage.
Right.
You have.
and
you
then
have
if you add a food
tables,
truck,
tables to eat and drink at.
Yeah.
Okay, the parking is based on the occupancy of the building. This isn't a building where people, they may, but not, the tables are set up there so people can go in and stay there versus say going in
a
Wayne's
store.
Market, buying something and they leave the store and the parking lot.
Typically, how do you reconcile, and again, I know this law is new in New Hampshire, so I think, by the way, I think you guys might be the first ones going through this.
Yeah.
Is how do you reconcile the fact that we will never have a restaurant license? So we won't ever be designated by the state or by the town of Lincoln as a restaurant. So
But you will serve people, and there's seats. And
Probably serve more
the seats
food than they
are,
will
the
with-
seats are for the people, and then you have even the potential for the food truck, so you kind of want to take a look at that. I agree with OJ, you know, that the parking is gonna be something you're gonna want to take a look at.
Plus, plus the only real difference is the food's not being prepared on site, you're just buying it somewhere, so you are serving it.
Yeah, if there were no tables inside or outside, and you said it was retail, I'd buy that. But if you can seat 50, 60 people at tables, that doesn't fit into our definition of a retail spot. That fits into our definition of food service, restaurant, regardless of where you get your food from.
Oh, yeah, you're serving
How
someone.
how, yeah.
Well, Jay, I agree with you, because you say 48 divided by 4, it's 12, you get 13 parking places.
We need,
Then you get
Well, no, but
employees.
what I'm saying is, they need, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that, I'm saying, this is a change of use.
Major
They
change.
need to look at the
Parking,
requirements, including parking, but all the requirements, and come to site plan for that.
right.
And I thought there was parking spaces along here where this ramp was in the original.
There was under the special permit that I have activated now based on the footprint of that building. But when you say that we're changing the use categorically, we're not, because we're looking at continuing to keep it as retail consumer service, not restaurant.
And what are you gonna do with the other
I
building?
think it fits
The
more in
yellow
as food service as
153.
opposed to
Okay.
retail.
153,
Correct.
that's what I want to keep it, it is the exact footprint that it is now, but
Still
we'll-
requires parking for that. but it's
Correct.
different than what the-
correct, and based on the retail designation, I think we have enough parking.
So another, can I add something?
Yeah.
I remember the state liquor laws correctly. You have to have so much food process, so much food product on the site before you get a liquor license.
That's the
Keep it
problem.
maintained.
Yeah,
I
so,
worked the liquor commission on that before. And if you don't meet that, if you don't meet the requirement, that, when I had my business, was $1,500 worth of product, of food, minimum, to get the liquor license. But you have to look at the state for that also.
yeah, so. Get the name, Paul. So Paul's right, that is our problem, but the state looks at it as a business entity. So this retail outlet is covered under our liquor license in Meredith, which takes that ratio into account. So they've said you can have a retail outlet with a ratio that may or may not meet that requirement. So we're covered from a licensing perspective.
And
That, the license is going to be confusing, because if you have to have food on premise, the food's in Meredith.
Yeah.
How's it gonna have food up here?
That's the prepackaged food that we talked about. So as long as we
You have
have,
to have product on the one site.
yeah, the RSA says as long as we have food available, it doesn't have to be our restaurant. It could be delivered, it could be
That's understandable.
prepackaged, it could be chips.
It just has to go.
Yeah, just food. And you know, a good proxy for this that's local, and it's one of my favorite places. So you've got Seven Birches and you've got the Atrium, which I think now is Rhythm Craft.
Mhm.
So think of that place, right? So it's like 60 seats inside, 20 seats outside, plus a bar. Really cool retail stuff. They do flights of wine and cider, and they offer glasses. It's limited, and ours would be too, because the whole point is it's samples. It's not a bar. People aren't coming here to pound 6 rounds. They're here to sample beer leave with hopefully some
You
cans.
don't know what type of people come to Lincoln.
I need to learn, but that's a good proxy, is if you're thinking, is it a restaurant? So would you consider the rhythm event space a restaurant? It's the same thing, but replace cider and wine with beer. It's what we're trying to do. So for us, it's very much, it's square in retail, because honestly, trust me, we have a restaurant in Meredith. We don't want another restaurant. It's a tough business. So we're making this very beer forward. So come sample the beer. You may sit at the table. We can't not have tables.
Right.
But the whole point is not to have people there for 7 hours drinking beer, because you're gonna run out very quickly. Because
You'll
we're
get
limited to
busted
2
in town
pints.
too.
What's that?
You'll get busted this time
Well,
too.
exactly.
So
So.
right across from the police station. So
Yeah, so that's sort of our proxy when we were thinking about what could work in Lincoln. So that's why we thought, and we started this conversation with Mark and said, hey, the good news is this is squarely in your use. So we thought it wasn't change of use. We're not mucking around with the footprint. We can have that discussion about outdoor space at some point, but we're more concerned with a good, sampling environment, a tap room, and selling merch and an outlet for the beer that we're brewing down in Meredith.
So I'm gonna pull the board here and see if anyone feels this doesn't need site plan approval. Paul,
I think it does.
Steve?
Yeah, I think it does.
Yes,
I do.
I do too.
To what extent though? I'm
We have to file a site plan review application.
Yeah.
Just like
with
everybody else.
stormwater and lighting and all the
Mhm.
survey.
Whatever the requirements of the town are.
Some of your
You want-
stormwater, you're gonna be able to pull off your other stuff. I mean, some of your engineering that you've done for your other plan, I would think would be comparable. It shouldn't be hard for whoever did that to do
I guess
this.
if you feel a waiver is necessary, you can ask for one.
You can ask for
So
waiver,
we can't
so-
grant your waiver in this venue here.
Can't have a grand waiver. You don't know exactly what's gonna go on out there.
Sure.
I mean, my thought would be that if you have stormwater done for the previous site plan that was approved, and you're covering less ground,
much less.
Yeah.
okay, to say that you're disrupting or
Right.
impervious, there's less impervious space. Well, the old one was approved, the new one, to me, seems like it'd be up for a waiver. Now, I'm not just saying that I'll
Yeah.
definitely yes, but, an engineer's opinion on that would go a long way versus re-engineering the whole thing to reprove what you've already proved.
You're
If they
actually not, they're actually not changing
We're not,
anything with the buildings. They only have the outdoor tap room. So I mean, the
Right, so,
parking and all
I
that.
don't
So
know the
let's play-
patio, I don't know what the patios, I mean, if
Yeah.
you're concreting that whole thing, it's one thing, if it's grass, that's
Yeah.
not perfect.
so can we play this out? So first off, no. As a matter of fact, we don't intend to change a thing on the exterior of this or the property except the sign,
Mhm.
right? So play this out. What if we took away, to your point, Paul, the beer garden? So we're taking existing 155, putting up a new sign and putting some tables in it and doing what Rhythm does over there. What
That
happens?
changes it.
Yeah, you're coming for site plan.
We would still
Well,
need site plan.
We still need site plan for that if we're not even touching the site.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You're changing the use, that's what's required.
But we're
I
not
don't think
changing
we
the
are.
use.
Well, I think the board feels otherwise.
Both an office space to drinking establishment, big change of use.
Except that they both fall under the same retail
All
consumer
right, so
service. or
I'm gonna
other
pull the
business.
board one more time, and then we can move on.
Well, I think that if they take the proposed beer garden out of there,
But they're still gonna have all the tables and everything inside.
yeah, but it's all located inside the building. And
Do you consider White Birch to be a restaurant?
Well,
They came in for site plan approval.
I don't think
Yeah.
that they have approval for the people though.
Well, that's a different issue. We don't want to throw that.
No, never mind. No, oh shit, I didn't hear what you said.
I don't think they have approval for lots of tables over there. and
Well, I mean, they came in for
was
I'll
site.
have to look, but
That was, the prior use of that was an event space, and and Renee came in.
Yeah,
they
The
came in.
Whole
It was
thing
event
for
space.
I remember
That's the
that.
last thing that
food
we gave-
service, tables.
Yeah, we did give approval for an event space, not anything since then.
Can we call it an event space?
It was, well, it was a food service event space, yes, and they
Yeah.
followed the requirements for,
Right,
tables, I mean, four parking spaces, I'm
But
sorry.
if now
One
you're
parking
running a
space, four
restaurant out of
seats.
there, that's not what we approved.
Oh, they're not.
They're not, it's not a restaurant.
Honestly, they have cheese and salami in a fridge.
If
So-
you, if you're
Yeah.
looking, if you're looking to do this on the lowdown and at the least the minimal impact, keeping 155 as your tap room, coming in for site plan review and not having a proposed outdoor beer garden is probably your best choice. However, I've always found that if you're coming in, you might
Coming in
come in for what
anyways.
you want.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to come in for what you really want at first and then see if there's any issues with it and then proceed from there.
You always come in for more, you might get less.
That's right. You can always say, what if we take that out of there and then we can go from there.
Yeah, I think we agree. If we're gonna do site plan, we're gonna come in with our Christmas wish list. This is our ideal, right? I guess the question is for that site review. Is there any, is the scope reduced because of the work that Mark's already done with plans and, because honestly, again, we're not changing anything exteriorly. But so do we have to do all the water, lighting?
Well, I think I think the stormwater, it's OJ said probably would be comparable, but the only question I would have would be the sewer and water tap things, you know, I see you're gonna have a ADA bathroom. I don't know what's currently the allotment for that building is.
Well, from a plumbing perspective, we're not changing a thing. There's a bathroom, which will remain. We're taking a 1-bay sink and changing it to a 3-bay sink.
That's gonna have to be expanded to EA. That's gonna have to be.
Yeah.
expanded to-
Yeah, it will.
Nervous, Jim.
So from trust me, we're the largest water user in Meredith because we brew there. Up here, it's a sink for washing.
Yeah, you would just have to file that form with the town, right, Carol, for the water
Well,
tap?
that's after, after site plan, that's a whole separate thing. You know, you just get a land use permit, which is like a building permit.
Mhm.
And that's just for anything that uses water or sewer that you're adding. Or if you're putting bedrooms in, which you're not gonna do.
No.
As long as you meet the parking requirements, which just hasn't,
So there'll be a lot of things on that checklist that you would probably say, ask for either a waiver or not applicable.
Carol, is that something we can review before site plan? We can go through with you, say, we think it's NA. Do you agree it's NA before we show up?
No, Carol has enough to do. You
How does
guys
that
can do that yourself, look at the ordinance and do it yourself, and when you come in, we'll let you know.
Anyone have anything else?
How many spaces were approved on your last plan?
It was 19.
That's what I
I was
thought.
gonna
And
say,
it's
I think
13 here,
I
so
was
you're
gonna say-
missing the 6 along here.
It's all,
Well,
it's
you-
all
you
along
moved
and then
the-
shifted everything down towards the street north.
So where you might see a row of bushes on the
Yeah.
north
Yeah.
side. This plan pushed that about 6 feet south, so there's more space.
Okay,
Bring 'em back.
and what about the apartments up on the second level?
For which one? 155?
Both,
For parking, you mean?
first of all, are they gonna continue to exist is my first
Yeah,
question.
so the idea, the wish list, if you will, is 155, we'll have the tap room on the first floor. We'll continue with the process of building a 2-bedroom on the second floor. And then on 153, we keep the footprint of the existing structure, build out the roof line and have 2 top to bottom residents.
Now you really need to take a look at your parking.
Well, it all falls on whether or not you recognize this as retail versus restaurant. It doesn't work if you recognize it as restaurant.
So see, that's what I was asking you about that.
I think you got seats in there, you
You
got,
know, it's kind of
Booze,
not a horse
retail.
or a cow.
I mean, restaurant.
Yeah, and it's the same one that Seven Birches, they
Can't do it
recognize
as
it on their
retail.
website. It's the sister to the wine.
Yeah, so their wine, so I have the
Anyway,
RSA.
just email.
Okay, yeah, there's the new, the
178
Senate
as
bill,
well.
yeah. there's- Yeah.
Or whatever it is, just
Yeah.
email.
We'll email it to you, yeah.
if you didn't have the beer garden and had your 155 main lower and upper and 153 main lower and upper, would you have enough parking? Because you would be taking out 20 to 25 seats.
13 spaces.
Probably.
You might take a look at that as a first phase.
Say that again. Sorry.
Leave the proposed beer garden out, and then you might have enough parking with your wish list of the apartments up above, stuff like that.
If it's a restaurant, you mean?
Yeah.
Or if it's.
Yeah, I don't think you can do retail.
How's, having looked through the town plan and zoning stuff, how do you define restaurant? So what's the trigger?
Serving food products.
Well, serving,
But so is
sit-down
goodies.
service is.
Yeah.
In retail, you don't have sit-down service.
Oh, we'll have no sit-down service here.
Well,
It's all-
you have
it's all-
seats and you're serving a product, so I mean, it's kind of.
Well, we're
It's
serving.
not like you're
take-
going
we're
into a
serving
grocery
taste.
store and walking out.
Oh, understood. Yeah, but it's not wait, I just want to be clear, it's not say wait staff service. So we serve at it.
For
I
the
mean, I think you're
parking,
just
I'm not
splitting
sure,
hairs, really.
how does it matter if 4 people are sitting at a table
Yeah.
and they need 1 vehicle? What does it matter if they buy their food out of a potato chip rack?
Yeah.
Or they're buying a steak that some chef is cooking? The parking space is what we're talking
Yeah.
about.
Right.
You know, if you wanted to make, my opinion,
Mhm.
if you wanted to make the claim that there's no chef, there's no dishwashing, there's no wait staff, so you want less parking for the employees, I would be open to hearing that.
Right.
But if 4 people are sitting at a table, that's a vehicle that needs to be parked somewhere. Now, if you eliminate all the tables and say, well, it's just retail, that would make sense.
Because they're not gonna stay in there for very long.
Yeah, I mean,
We're also very sensitive about the parking because we don't have enough of it. And the state of New Hampshire is not happy with our, our busy time when there's no place to park. And, they have said to us, you could make another lane, but you'll have no on-street parking. And that would not be good for any of the businesses at all, including, what you're talking about. So.
Not to
So
throw
we
anything
really
else out that
have
might
to-
help you, but the town has allowed parking using other lots during different times.
Well, it's true. If they could find one close enough where.
You got the whole
One across the street.
one across the street.
how about this one?
You got this one here, it's not, well, they got meetings here at night, but.
Town parking is not part of that deal.
It's worth a shot.
It's.
Town parking is part of that deal.
I mean, let's wait till they come in for site
it's
plan,
not.
really.
It's
before-
part of the pancake place
Is
deal.
it in their conditions of approval?
Yes, sir is. They can use bound
Okay, and
parking.
what year was that?
Look it up, you'll find out.
Okay.
More than
but
20
we've-
years ago.
We've changed that.
More than 20 years ago, it's.
You changed it by adding the other building in back.
We've changed that regulation. I mean, I don't know what to say. Anyway,
Yeah.
But when you
if you can
say
find it in our regulation that you don't have to do it, then don't do it.
challenge accepted. But your point about across the street, you're talking about like Obashan, Subway, Lahoots. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really open at about 8, 9 o'clock.
All right. Does anyone have anything else? All right. Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you
very
much.
We appreciate it. We'll see you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, next one. That's great.
This one is West.
Okay. New conceptual number 3, the Rapids, 25.24 acres.
Good, how are you? So hopefully, not gonna need 2 or 3 hours, I hope. but a couple
Okay,
minutes.
so his parking is the one with the gold colored.
Yeah.
typically,
Yeah.
The ones that have the paper clip.
Yep.
the gold colored paper clip.
So I'm applying for an application to extend planning board approval. This is the parcel that runs like from here to Gordy's on the right-hand side, down by the old swimming hole. We bought the parcel in 2006. I think a couple of the partners may be bought out. And a couple want to move forward and build the project. we made an agreement with the town 4 years ago, I believe.
Can I ask you to hold up, because OJ's not here? I'm sorry.
Yeah, just wait a second, Charlie.
Yeah, no problem.
Just use it.
We get the bucket list. Oh, never mind.
I haven't heard. Yeah.
We told us, oh, it's a good chance to come right back.
Yeah.
Did we tell the chat?
Yeah.
I don't know. Go ahead, please.
So this is the one with the gold clip on it. If you look on the second page, we're applying for an application to extend planning board approval.
One of the single sheets?
Yep.
So it has a number 1 on top.
Yeah.
I don't know if you read the cover sheet, but so we bought this parcel in 2006, 16 years ago. Two of the partners want to move forward now that the dike has been rebuilt. Two of them probably don't, so we'll probably wind up buying them out. We had a settlement agreement, and it actually was signed in 2018. That's number 2 attached. And if you look at number F, there's a little pink highlight next to it. The town will assist and cooperate to the fullest extent permitted by law in efforts to obtain all necessary approvals of the development of the property. So, in other words, the town, in this settlement, we gave the town parking on Main Street. We gave the town a path all the way down through. I believe those are both easements. And we gave the town the old swimming hole. And I believe that was deeded. It's in here somewhere, but I believe that was deeded. So, I mean, basically, we took our private beach and made it the town public beach. In return, the town said that they would cooperate, to the fullest extent of the law to restore our permits. So that's what I'm in here asking. And number 1 here is an application to extend the planning board approval permits. So I'm hoping, you guys see this as an already settled matter, and we can just, sign it and move forward. So I put in the entire agreement, the entire settlement. The last page of it is the parking on Main Street. You can see you see like the triangle parcel on Main Street there? There's lines going through it.
The last page of
the settlement, of number 2.
This piece right here, you're talking, you probably can't see from there, but.
Yeah, it's up on Main
Towards the
Street,
top
right
left.
next to the electrical station.
Okay.
Right, so we gave that triangle, right triangle, if you will, parcel for parking. You can see coming off there's a path that goes down, that will actually be behind the townhomes. So it's really not going to affect anything. And then we gave the town the old swimming hole. In return, again, number F, we asked for restoral of our permits. Number 3 is the permits, basically. I know they're older, but, you know, I'm hoping a deal's a deal. And,
Well, let me ask you this, you got these approvals in 2007 originally, but didn't you withdraw this application later on down the line? Did you want to do something different?
Yeah, we looked into maybe doing riverfront flats instead. And then the US Army Corps of Engineers decertified the wall, put most of our land underwater. So as I say, we bought this 16 years ago. I mean, my youngest son was 2.
Yeah.
He's in college now.
Yeah.
So again, and we couldn't do anything, so we just had to, you know, suck it up and, you know, take it on the chin for, you know, 16 years now. And you know, finally the wall's been rebuilt and, you know, it's ready to move forward, and we're hoping and asking that you will just restore our permits. You know.
Does look like you got some compensation for the swimming hole.
Well, that really paid, you know, we got in a friendly lawsuit with the town.
Friendly lawsuit?
Well, because the reason being, like, they had to raise money to rebuild the wall, and the townspeople weren't, you know, signing checks. So we said, we have to, I don't know if I should say this in this public hearing, but it was almost like, you know, we have to raise the money, and unless we're forced to, we're not gonna be able to raise the money, and we have to rebuild the wall, or else we can lose the whole town, you know? So we did get some compensation, without question. But it, you know, most of it went to the attorneys. And it would, you know, the town beach is worth a lot more than $1,000. I mean, the old swimming hole, you know.
Anyone have any questions?
Tons, but I don't, I mean, I just got this tonight. So certainly would like to look through it more before making any.
I just have one question.
Agreement. Go ahead.
When we had the court settlement, the agreement was that the town would help to keep, we need to reenact the permits. Our town ordinance says, but it's been done 2 years, they expire. Does that apply in this case also?
Well, it's not only that, that's part of my question. The state's water and sewer, you can't grant water and sewer cannot be vested more than, I think, it's 2 or 3 years. And then
Well,
they
I
go
think,
away.
what they mean by assistance is like, we had the other application here earlier, if, say there was a driveway permit, the town had to be the applicant, they wouldn't make a reason not to be the applicant. I don't think they actually meant to say, hey, no site plan, no nothing. Just means they wouldn't like to put obstacles in his way unnecessarily.
No, and this has been engineered, and it's been, you know, I mean, it took us a year to get the permits in the first place.
I know, but a lot,
I mean, the entire parcel has been, you know.
I think the big question is that the towns, whether it would have to meet the town's current ordinances.
Well, I don't think anything's changed, so not
Okay.
allow him to build that.
What's that?
I don't think anything has changed as far as, density requirements. or anything.
Stormwater has definitely changed.
You know.
There's a big change for a development of that size.
For instance, like you need more.
Stormwater is a whole engineered.
No, I know what it is.
Yeah.
You need more pools for it to.
Right, I mean, and that would have to be done by an engineer. I don't know whether this was even, I don't think stormwater was considered back in
2015.
2015.
Absolutely it was.
But I mean-
Absolutely it was. I know it was, because we
Stormwater?
had to put,
Well,
we had to put retaining pools, you know, where the storm, where the rainwater would
I mean,
go into.
there's always a requirement of.
Yeah,
site plan
alteration
review
of
to have
terrain.
Stormwater management. or
Part of
stormwater
our
plan.
application way back then was an alteration of terrain permit, exactly. And I don't,
That didn't mean the town requirements. Town requirements for stormwater are, I don't think were in effect back then, were they? I'm just
Yeah,
asking.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been there since we had site plan review, it's required on your site plan, you show your stormwater drainage plan.
And does it meet the current did they have their requirements changed? Or another question is, what requirements have changed since this has been approved?
well, I think we can look at 2000, the 2018 agreement instead of the 2007, at least, because at that point, they said, we're agreeing to, restore what has been done. So I think to go back to 2007, it is not in the spirit of the settlement we had with the town.
I'm not just, look, like I said, I just got this tonight, so.
Sure, no, I understand.
I mean, my questions are very basic because I haven't had a chance to review anything.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know what was originally approved. We have your stuff here, but I don't know what the original approval was. Do we have any information on what the original approval was from the town
I
archive?
think there were 22.
Yeah, it's right there on the last page, what was approved. There's a copy of the,
That's number 3.
He included it, the conditions for approval, number 3. It's got pink highlighting on it.
78 unit resort residential subdivision. Wes, these are duplexes, is that right?
Yeah.
Good question. It was approved by the court, 2018.
Yep.
Normally permits the town go for 2 years. How come you didn't try to renew it every 2 years?
Because the dike wasn't finished and it was just.
The permit still could
Well, no
renew
one,
it.
I'm telling you, Joe, no one told us, first of all, or we would have. And it just, our understanding, my understanding was that, come back when you're ready, we agreed to, re-permit you. And
Well, that can't
I didn't
get
know it was
going.
2 years, and had I known, I would have come back here in 2 years.
The thing I'm concerned about, you can't go on ad infinitum, like 10, 12 years now, still get permits still in existence.
What's that?
I don't think see permits try to go on, people think they can go on ad infinitum no matter what the owners change during the course of the period of time.
Yeah.
If you go to 8, 9, 10 years, you still expect the same thing. I don't think any court would approve it like that, approve it that way.
Well, the settlement, I'm sorry.
Chime in here, the
Or just,
issue with this was the levy.
Right.
Okay, so it didn't go on ad infinitum. If we say day one was the day we got the levy back onto the activation list of the Army Corps, they were in their 2-year limit,
Okay,
okay?
that's what I want to find out.
Because prior to that, there was no really valid way that any permit with any conditions that the town had could have been adhered to because there was no levy.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, it was a dormant project, we just didn't know what to do.
But I mean, he got his approvals in 2007, he didn't file a lawsuit until 2014, so 7 years had already gone by.
It was settled in 2018,
Right,
which is 5 years. 3 to 4.5 years from now,
ago.
backward.
The settlement in 2018 agreed that this would be a
Viable.
viable, approved project as of
Yeah.
the settlement, but really couldn't whatever become
when was it settled? When
reactivated
was it settled?
until the levy was built.
When was it settled?
2018.
And when was the levy finished?
The
Just
levy
last
got
year.
permit in October, November?
Yeah, just like
2021.
October, November, something like that.
Yeah.
That's some stormwater management.
A lot of water.
Says here, the town will assist with and cooperate to the fullest extent permitted by law with their efforts to obtain the necessary permits.
Which is what site plan approval is all about. I mean, it doesn't mean you skip it, it just means that
Right, it doesn't say that,
it doesn't say you don't have to come in for site plan approval, it just says that you'll cooperate, the town will cooperate.
Are you looking to change anything?
No.
Same layout, same
Did you
square
have to
footage?
move something?
I actually thought we were gonna have to, but then I spent some time with what Horizons did in the settlement. Where they blocked off the parking, the trail down and the old swimming hole. And it doesn't appear to me anyway, if you look at the approval map, and then you look at the settlement map, it doesn't appear to me that anything's gonna have to be changed. you see how they, goes from Main Street, comes right down past the electrical station, then it hugs the wall, the lot line all the way down to the swimming hole, so. I don't think anything is gonna have to be changed. I just, I'm just saying, let's be fair. I mean, we made an agreement. I'm hoping you guys will honor it.
Question. Honor it is. We're really not privy to negotiations to resolve.
Right.
it.
The planning board wasn't privy to all the
Yeah,
negotiations with
we
the
didn't,
court.
we didn't even know in 2018 that they were considering something like this. We just-
Right, no, I get it. I'm not looking to come in and, jam it at you.
No,
No,
I'm looking to come in and just asking you to extend the approval, so.
I guess,
Does anyone have any ideas how we can move forward here?
well, I think we're gonna find out. Again, water and sewer, is that
They're on
available?
the vested list.
It's on the vested list.
Yeah, they are on the list.
Scratch that one.
So that takes care of that. And the only other thing I would ask would be stormwater.
We could have a commit for, apply for an extension of the site plan.
And look at the
Any new
stormwater.
plans come in, we'll have to put the site, water on the new plans.
So if we have them come in and file for an extension, apply for an extension and ask as if the stormwater be looked at, revised.
We did ask for.
Did that too?
Well, it's noticed as conceptual, but he's also filed an application to extend planning board approval.
Where was that?
It's number one on your,
I don't know why that came out so light.
Yeah.
When you fill it in, it comes
I'm having a
out.
hard time reading
Yeah,
that.
I saw it in my packet earlier.
So it's done in February of 22?
I just did this the other day.
Keep your alteration permit current, or does that lapse?
Probably is not.
You don't have to redo that.
I mean, we have it all. There's Steve LaFrance, right?
Right.
Yeah, you'll have to do a new submission, because if it's expired, you won't be able to start the development until you have a current AOT.
So this is conceptual tonight, right?
Well, I mean, he's coming in to ask us if he needs to come in for site plan or can he move forward now?
Wants to build something in.
He's here.
West, and the road going into the South Mountain Road, Access Road, a lot to the left of it, going into some sold. The private developer.
The lot going in where?
When you go into the South Mountain, Cooper Memorial Road,
Yeah,
the lot on the left, both lots have been sold.
okay.
Frank Tony bought it. The one on the right can divide two lots, one on the left is already we already sold to somebody else. We know actually what they want to put in yet officially.
Okay. I mean, we actually own that road. And we have,
Yeah, right away to the road.
we gave a right away to Blue Mountain and, to the, the other condos down there. So I certainly don't think anyone's gonna stop us.
I just thought I'd tell you about that, and maybe you work something out with them, they want to buy more land off you, or you like the rest
It's been 16 years, Joe. It's been 16 years. For the love of Pete,
One thing at a time.
I'll be 90 years old, but
Well, I guess by virtue of the fact that the town has kept it on its water and sewer rights, it's vested in that regard because the town has kept it on that list. I'm okay with that, as long as the town has, that they realize that. The only thing like I said, concern is the stormwater protection, whether or not we need to revisit that, make sure that it meets. I mean, that's just simply an engineering thing where Horizons looks at it.
I mean, that could be done administratively.
Right,
You'd have Ray Corver review it just to be sure.
right, just to make sure it meets the current requirements, but other than that, I mean,
I mean, could that be a contingency of,
it could be a
moving
condition of
forward,
the,
getting any building permits, we can make sure that.
it could be a condition, I would think.
Yeah.
Need the AOT before you put a shovel in the
Yeah.
ground.
Yeah, they're gonna,
This is, you know, we got a lot of work to do before we
You're
start.
gonna
No, I mean, the condition would be that you would have to get all state permits and,
Yeah,
all state permits would have to be up to date.
Sure.
And that, I would add that, that the stormwater protection gets revisited to make sure it meets with the current town ordinances.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, I mean, we could say that it meets the current town ordinances.
yeah, they're gonna have to re-up their AOT
Right.
as part of that.
Right, without the, you know, you need the approvals to get the bank, to get the attorney general, to get, the, you know, so the dominoes, you know,
But it's
trying to
part
get
of
one
the
fall
AOT.
first, you know.
They're gonna have to meet whatever criteria that the AOT is today, not back in 2007. Those are state rules, so we have
Right,
nothing to say
right.
about that, but that will be required. And as part of that process, I mean, you could, at the same time, have Ray look at the AOT permit to make sure it abides by the current stormwater ordinance of the
Is
town.
there anything that you would have to do in regards to, did your AG approvals expire after a certain amount of time?
Yes.
So you'll have to do that too.
Yeah, that's again, state.
That's
he's on
state-
here, Ray basically says I want to come back on the town's end, like for local planning.
Right, right. I'm just saying, so
Yeah,
we
you don't
could,
get AG approval without the town.
so we actually could tonight say that, make a motion to accept this, extend this. And
We should also,
and condition of, as a conditional approval, that all, I'm just trying to get them, get them up, get them up to date. As a condition, make sure that all of the local and state permits are updated prior to any construction. And that would include do we have to include them all, or do we just say local and state?
I would say state, whatever state permits are required, and we should also make a finding that the project is vested.
And I think we do that based on what I said with OJ, that
Yeah.
the town has kept it with that we feel the project's vested because the town has kept the water and sewer in the queue.
Right.
OJ is right, and I can see him.
I'm just gonna put these conditions in.
Yeah, I didn't know if, as a condition, do we have to itemize each one of those, the alteration of terrain permit, the
Right.
stormwater protection? Do we have to do that, or do we just say state and local? So,
I think, I'd say state permits and then have the
Local.
town engineer review the stormwater management.
okay,
And then make first off, make a finding that the project is vested and
because we need to make sure that all, the town will need to make sure that all those permits are updated. So the town would need to make, before he put a shovel in the ground, just to make sure that those, then it would be your responsibility to bring it back to town, and say, here's my updated AOT, here's
Yeah, I mean,
my.
to get a
my-
building permit, you know, we're gonna have to
Right.
come in and have a little
Right.
extra, of course.
Yeah,
So, yeah, absolutely.
and when Steve does that, make sure he puts the floodplain on there. you know.
Yeah, I will, yep.
The new FEMA mapping shows.
What's that?
The new mapping, so, right?
Well, it's-
Yeah, we went over it the other day.
where It's going through the.
Very helpful.
OJ, is it, how about traffic, is there anything to do with traffic? Was that all considered part of that, or, I'm not trying to add anything to it, I'm
he's
just
gonna,
saying.
he's gonna have to apply for new
DOT.
current DOT permits, so that'll be addressed there.
So the DOT would be part of, I mean,
The all state permits.
all
yeah.
state
All
would be,
state permits, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, we can't list them because what if we miss one?
If we miss
Right.
one,
that's my, yeah.
Right.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you can say including but not limited to,
okay,
that's my favorite phrase.
Yeah, Alteration of train, DOT,
Alteration,
stormwater protection.
And others that may be required, I guess.
Yeah, and others that may be required.
There's one thing nobody figured out when they did the approvals. The parking lot up by the transformer station was on a state right of way. The state said they will not give any more right of ways, exits off in
Curb cuts.
112, curb cuts. That's a good point.
There is a curb cut there.
Yeah, he said.
There's one good road now.
There's already
And
one
then they're
there.
fixing the dike, they did a curb cut to get out.
Was that a permanent one, or just a?
It's permanent.
it's existed.
I mean, that's.
That was already there.
Existed since,
No, it wasn't. They
Well,
had,
they used to come in off the end of the guardrails.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they've done a whole line there, yeah.
They stayed extended the guy rail another 20 feet further south, so they couldn't.
That guardrail came out once or twice.
Did it twice?
I didn't do it twice, only once.
What were you doing down there?
Late at night, Joe.
Let's stay on track. here. Can you read off what you've written?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the application to extend planning board approval with the following conditions. One is we consider this project to be vested. Two, approval is pending. One, all state permits, including but not limited to DOT, AOT, and others. And two, compliance with the Lincoln Stormwater Management Ordinance.
Can I amend that? Can you just change it a little? I want you to say why it's vested, so if someone looks at that, we consider it vested due to the fact that the town has held water and sewer capacity for this.
It's been held in reserve.
Has held them in reserve. That way they're, if someone asks, why did you consider it vested, you don't like that?
No, I'm just thinking,
Thinking how to word it.
what if we said we consider the project vested as determined by the Board of Selectmen in, I forget what year we put that list together, but let's call it 2019, it was somewhere. in
As
there.
determined by the water vesting list or the water.
The Board of Selectmen's approved
Water
water
vesting.
vesting list.
That's fine.
All right.
I'm cool with that. It's just for a reason, yeah, just something.
Pressure to write everything down.
Okay. Well, just some.
Water/sewer vesting list.
There you go.
All right, that'll be my motion.
All second.
All right, any further, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, very good, thank you.
Thank
Good
you,
luck.
guys.
Good
You guys- you
luck.
guys-
There's still a lot of work ahead of you.
Oh, I know. You
This
guys
is the
are
easy
just
part. Keep going. Thank you.
All right.
Good luck. And Wes,
Yeah, most of the time.
just
Yeah.
remember, you don't get it all started in 3 years, you come back in to renew your.
Okay, I'm moving the spring.
You know, just saying, you never know what happens, it's gone.
Oh, yeah. You can show us where all the dead bodies are, right?
Could very well be. Could be.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Discussion about what triggers the need for a stormwater management plan.
Where the hell?
No, the Kailash Patel, he's on,
Hi there,
how you doing, guys?
well, yeah, Kailash Patel has given us a
Okay.
packet.
New conceptual.
D.
Copy in your packet.
Yeah, I
Is
got
this the home tube thing?
Yep, Camless Hotel, DBA Greenwood LLC, formerly the Lincoln Hotel / Fairfield, now Home 2 Suites, Hilton Hotel. Camlesh is here.
Good luck, Wes.
Yeah, thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Bye.
Camlesh, you there?
Hi there, how you doing?
Good.
Good.
So we moving from Fairfield Inn to the Home 2 Suite. And due to that, we are changing the building size. If you flip the second page, it shows that we are going from 96 to 98 rooms. We moving some walls, the building's footprint changed by 1,166 feet. And we have reductions on the asphalt and the improved area and exterior elevation and siding. Those are changed because of the brand. If you flip the page, you will see the hash line, what was approved before and what we are changing now. It has the footprint change. And we also have some patios that was designed by Home 2 to have that element. That's what's the difference between Hampton Inns or Homewood Suites. So those are the brand's requirement that I'm bringing to the board. If you flip the page again, you will see that what's final layout will be.
Small.
And then we got the building elevation, I believe. With the building explanation from Carl, what will be used as a siding and what will be the materials list.
And then if you're flipping a page, you will see the main building, what building will look like. And unfortunately, before I guys send you the whole binder, I didn't make a copy for myself. So I'm just trying to go through my computer, trying to make sense what you guys have and what you guys are looking at. And then if you, those are the material lists that we got. Those are coming from the brand side. What's the material that look like? If you keep on flipping up pages, you will see different elevations for the hotel and apartments on the side. So whole idea of me coming to the town without my engineer is just trying to get you guys up to the speed. What am I changing? What the building will look like? And any questions or any objections or what we need to change, I can go back to the brand and trying to change.
You're adding 310 square feet of impervious surface. Is that right?
Right, 856 square feet, yeah.
No, you're adding 1166 to the building, but taking off 856 on the pavement. So you're adding, net effect is 310 square feet of impervious surface. Kelly, does that affect, I mean, it affects a lot coverage, but does it put them over the limit?
The footprint originally versus the new one, it did not went into previous sidewalks or asphalts or anything. So the footprint that we increased was under what we had laid out before for the Fairfield Inn. So what reduced in previous area was that in the front. If you look at my canopy from previous versus now, the canopy is a lot more smaller and skinnier, but it on the right-hand side, you get some sitting area for the guests to sit out.
Are you losing any parking as a result of making these changes?
No. We still have 108.
You have 108, what's the,
Yes, it was 108, I believe.
you're increasing your rooms from 96 to 98, is that, do they
That's
still have enough parking?
Yes.
Well, you say that, but I don't know.
One space per unit, and then add 10% to that for employees, that makes it 10, so it makes it 180, right on the line now.
All right.
Sorry, Jeanette.
I said you need one space per unit,
So it's
98 spaces, and then you add 10% of that for employees. So that gives you another 10.
Right.
So it makes it 108. So, before he needed 106, he had 108. He had 2 extra spaces. Now he's right at the line.
So he has 108, there's 108 parking spaces there?
And that's correct, 108 car park.
When you increase your building footprint, it didn't change any parking space? I'm seeing a hash line there that makes it look like you're losing a parking space to the left of the entrance.
That's correct. What happened before with the old canopy, and they had some signature design also with the big tree and all of that with the Fairfield Inn. What we end up doing is swapping that area versus the other side. So other side, now the new prototype of the Home 2 has a sitting area where outside people are gonna sit with the fireplace.
But you're still losing a couple parking spaces to the left, aren't you?
I believe that he added back in, and if you look at the cross, that parking lot, because the canopy was big before, now he add 2 more parking on the other side. To
I don't know
remain.
Yeah, I don't know what it was before. It was.
If you look at the darker line on the other side of that canopy area, you will see the 2 parking on the right and left hand side. Now this calculations and everything came from the Walsh Engineering because they already did the site layout. Now, before I came to you guys, I also called Ray Colbert, trying to get the water study and asked him a question about, do I need to remove the 2 room extra room that I got in there? And Ray suggests that no, he can refresh some of the data with the water there's always a plus and minus in when you do the engineering calculation.
Anyone have any other questions?
Additional patio and screen wall. Where's the additional patio and screen wall?
It's on, if you look at the pool on my right-hand side of the building, they had patio before behind the building in a previous layout. They had gazebo and all kind of fireplace behind the building before. So now we moved it underneath, under the pool area. If you look at on the right-hand side, there's a requirement because a home to suite, let me tell you, it's a extended stay kind of product. So people are there for the long haul, for the weeks. That's what the product is. But I have full intent not to use it in the same manner in Lincoln. Only reason I'm going to the extended stay product is that because of the ski and the winter time, people travel for a whole bunch of days.
When do you plan on starting this project?
Huh?
When do you plan on starting this project?
I'm trying to start this thing in July.
July this year.
And we already at the state, because we got some numbers from Ray and the water study that we did. It's the same condition that Hampton has, same water condition for the sprinkler. So we already start going to the sprinklers design phase. Once we got the structure and approval from the town, that's why I was holding everything to run it by you guys, where the building looks and where things gonna be changed to.
So it says under the modifications, the exterior elevations and siding. What was changed under the exterior elevations and siding?
Because of if you look at the Fairfield Inn, the previous proposal that I have given you, it was a sliding and Fairfield Inn that I was planning to do what the Plymouth had, Plymouth, New Hampshire, the brand new Fairfield Inn that went in. It was a lot more design wise, the function wise, that will not allow by the home two with their signature look.
So what did you change?
Once we change, yes,
what did you change in the elevation?
Elevation is remain the same. We did not change any elevations or any of the roof lines or anything. What we had changed, if you look at my drawing for the building, you got a culture stone. That black stuff is a crystal stone, and the little reddish color is the wood grain panel. And then the gray part is the hardy board vinyl siding.
I don't have those colors on this thing, so
What's the last page?
Yeah.
I don't have any red. Maybe I'm colorblind.
It's not like a reddish, it's like
It's this one.
It's
the wood skin color.
Very last one.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Yeah, the wood skin color.
Wood skin color. Okay, yeah, I see that. I was just looking for something red.
No, sorry, it's like I should use proper wood skin color. It has.
So there were no exterior elevation changes, you're saying?
Yes, there is no exterior elevation change, but the elements of the stone and the windows, because before I had a window unit has an AC right underneath. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm redesigning the HVAC to be inside.
These are all architectural changes.
Yeah, this all architectural that what's the brand require for me to have.
Central heat is supposed to keep that unit in.
So all we're looking for here is a motion that these changes are de minimis and that.
Right.
Right.
I'll make a motion that changes are de minimis.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item. Discussion about what triggers the need for a stormwater management plan.
What's your thing?
Item 3A, page 7 of the agenda.
Okay, I got it. I'm just trying to follow it.
So I guess it's been, when we say total disturbed area, for the trigger, do we mean the total disturbed area on the lot?
We said it was a total disturbed area on the lot.
I thought they had those triggers, but I don't remember.
Okay, but once it's triggered, then, then they're reviewing, like, if it's some of the plan disturbed, like common area, should that be considered when they review the plan? I think that's really the question that we're trying to ask.
Well, I think, if I could give my 2 cents, I think that we took a vote about temporary disturbance, and temporary disturbance should take into consideration any offsite disturbances that are done for utilities or in a easement, because they would have to be done within that time. If they're not done within that time limit that we voted on, which was, I think, 7 days,
Right, well, we took that out because it was too.
we didn't take that out. There was never, when I went back to the minutes, that temporary disturbance was still voted on by this board and has not been rescinded that I saw.
That was a change for the town meeting to vote on.
But, well,
It's a warrant article, I believe we did.
Yeah,
Right, but we took that
I think we
out.
voted on them, and again, I wasn't here.
no,
It was a
we did,
recommendation.
because I went, well, from what I saw, I went back and looked at it. And in the minutes, and I couldn't find where we got rid of that. I had it somewhere, but I've had so much stuff here.
We were gonna add that verbiage to the stormwater management ordinance, but we took it out because it was felt that we got the ordinance.
Was it in there before?
And it's still,
Well, Ray is still on there if you want to talk to him.
when we, in minutes, and I'd have to find them. A temporary disturbance we voted on, and it never came out of the. And that's why I was saying that temporary disturbance would take into consideration disturbances that were off the lot, as long as they were within 7 days. And that the true disturbance would be then on the lot.
Mhm.
I mean, most of the disturbances that come off the lot are taken care of, and would have to be taken care of within 7 days. Someone goes out into a road, ties onto the water, sewer, electric cable, they usually they would have to fix those within 7 days. And that's why I thought we left that as
Yeah.
that definition of temporary disturbance. I had it, and we've had so much stuff here, I can't find it.
On January 26th, I remember was the meeting and I was not at. There was a motion to send the definition of disturbance to the town warrant as written. As written is disturbance means filling, grading, dredging, mining, excavation, construction, removal of topsoil, removal of stumps, stockpiling of earth material, or any other activity that results in a temporary or permanent change to the pre-existing ground conditions or contours, or both. So that's what's going before the,
No.
for the town
Right.
vote for a couple of weeks.
But we voted. We voted to the definition of temporary disturbance and include it in our ordinance.
Yeah, but no, we took that out because it was gonna be, if it was stabilized within 7 days, was how it was worded.
Right, and we voted on it, and it said,
Well, we changed it in between since then.
okay, I get it right here. See, page 14 minutes, 12:08. We're getting 12:08. 12:08, page 14.
What minutes are you looking at?
12:08, page 14.
I know-
Motion to change the definition of
12:08.
disturbance to read. Temporary disturbance may be excluded from the calculations for the area of disturbance as long as the temporary disturbance can be permanently stabilized within 7 days. So as not to result in offsite erosion or sedimentation, shall be permanently stabilized by the end of construction, so as not to result in offsite erosion with sedimentation. By member Bowden, second by Selectman O.J. Robinson, all in favor. and we voted on it.
Yeah, but
So, but then you
That was
also had a second public hearing
change it again.
Well, we did, well,
in January.
once we voted on this, we didn't, I mean, I don't know how it gets changed. If we vote on something, it's, I would think that that's what we gotta use. And I would think to have,
Second public hearing.
I would think that the temporary disturbance would take into consideration off the lot disturbances. That's what I'm trying to say.
We
is that-
voted on that to bring that to the public hearing on January 5th. So that's what we voted on, and we brought it to the public hearing. Then there was a public hearing,
We voted to,
and then on January,
where'd you see that, Roger? I didn't see that January 5th.
I don't have the minutes.
it says it right under the next paragraph, is that the public hearing date is Wednesday, January 5th.
You're right.
And on January 5th, I don't have January 5th. So we need to find January 5th to see what it said, if we change it, but I don't think we changed that.
We definitely changed that.
What, do we have the minutes to reflect that?
Yes, January 26th.
Well, this says January 5th was the first public hearing. Do we have those?
We changed it to January 5th hearing, but we don't have, I don't have the
I
minutes.
don't have it in front of me, but then on January 26th is when we changed, it so that definition of disturbance was just as I had read.
Yeah. I
To
don't know.
send the definition of the motion, and again, I wasn't here, I'm just reading it, but the
Yeah, I
motion
know.
to send
I
the
see it.
definition of disturbance to the town warrant as written,
What page is that on January?
page
26th?
15 on January 26th, page 15. January 5th meeting.
On January 5th meeting?
No, I'm talking to Ron. January 26th on the whatever page it says, if you,
January 26th on page 15.
You get it?
Yeah. January 26th, page 15. We changed, we
The
said add
motion-
paragraph C, it doesn't say that we took the other one out, it just says add paragraph C, disturbance. So what I'm suggesting is that we were supposed to be putting temporary disturbance in as well as disturbance.
We took that out. We had a whole discussion with Ray Corber.
Well, I don't see it in the minutes.
well,
It's on January 5th. We don't
on
have those
December
minutes in front of
8th, the
us.
discussion that you're talking about was a motion to change the definition of disturbance to read, and it goes on and on. with
Did you get
December-
January 5th?
I have in my hand, I haven't looked at them yet, but if you want them first, go ahead.
Oh, no matter, I'm just asking.
No, I'm just saying that what you're talking about was correct, but we did that on December 8th, under a motion to change the definition of disturbance. After the public hearing, we made a different motion. That motion was the December 8th motion was what we were motioned and voted on to bring to public hearing. After the public hearing, we made a different motion to what to put on the town warrant.
If you look at the January. If you look at these on the 5th,
Yeah,
it gives disturbance, temporary disturbance, disturbance and temporary disturbance.
that was the proposed.
Yeah, that's what we're supposed to be having in there.
That's not what we voted. for.
Right, that was what was proposed and we brought it to public hearing. What was the result of that? 16 pages later.
Did we have a result? I didn't go there. I don't think we had, it. That's what I'm saying, I think.
Okay, so at the end of this 4 pages of discussion, the motion, which has been modified to include the definition of disturbance to the stormwater management ordinance, as well as the land use plan ordinance as provided, which means, and it goes back to here, filling, grading, dredging, mining, excavation, construction, removal of topsoil, removal of stumps, stockpiling earth material, or any other activity that results in a temporary or permanent change to the pre-existing ground conditions or contours or both, to the stormwater management ordinance and the land use plan ordinance.
Did that just modify the definition of disturbance, or did it mean to take out the temporary disturbance, just that's all it's gonna be?
That's all it's gonna be. That's what.
Well,
you
the
voted
only
for.
change we made, we changed the threshold from 15,000 to 17,000, and I think
Right. We
to
did.
55%.
Right, we did that too. I'm just asking, but I think that I think we left out I think that temporary disturbance was in there and that we were just going off, changing the
No.
No, it was a-
the disturbance one. I'm not sure.
It's a three-part process. What you're talking about, we did on December 8th.
Yeah,
We brought it to the public hearing.
yeah.
Because of the input, we changed it. And we changed the motion of what we wanted to bring to the town meeting. And then we voted on the final town warrant, what we're gonna bring to the town warrant on January 26th.
But that didn't change just the definition of disturbance? It
So we
changed the
changed
whole
was-
thing and took out temporary?
We
Took that
never-
out.
I
Temporary-
think,
temporary
Yeah, but we
was
didn't
never
say to
in
take it
the
out.
ordinance.
That's my point.
Temporary-
Wait, hold on. When you say take it out, we took it out from sending it to the town warrant. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
didn't
take it
vote to
it's not in
take
the
out
ordinance.
the temporary disturbance portion. We just voted to change the disturbance portion.
Right, we didn't take, I mean, we didn't vote to send that to the town warrant. Basically, we voted to send it to the January 5th hearing. And January 5th, we didn't vote to send it along any further.
I think when you were talking about increasing the thresholds, you decided to do away with the temporary disturbance because you're
You may be
increasing the threshold.
Right.
And
Right.
that would cover the temporary disturbance.
Right, we raised the threshold as a way of.
That could be the way that went out of it.
That makes sense.
And that didn't make the minutes that we did that, but yeah, you could be right. That's why we did that.
I'm buying into that.
Okay. Thank you, Ron.
Yeah.
All right.
Remember.
Any further discussion on the stormwater management?
So what were we supposed to be doing?
Talking about what triggers the need for a stormwater management plan. So is it 17,000 square feet or 15,000 now? It's not law yet.
If it gets voted in, it'll be 17,000 square feet or 55%.
Right,
Okay, and is the question whether it's inclusive of offsite of
right,
the
that's
lot?
the question.
Is that the question that we're being asked to look at?
Yes,
I
that's my.
originally had, two questions, but when I talked to Jim, he just wanted this question, so. Anyway,
Right, that was the question that came up at January 26th.
And one of the things I said is can we define what lot means?
Right.
We can do that as part of our ordinance.
Right, well, is the trigger the disturbed area within the boundaries of the lot, or does it encompass the surrounding lot? I mean, if there's no stormwater management plan presented, you really don't know what's gonna be disturbed. In other words, you don't know if you're gonna disturb anything off-site.
But the
there's a
offsite,
bunch of different circumstances, there's the PUDs where there's a lot of disturbance of the common areas.
Yeah.
And could clearly go over not the 50%, but, or the 55,
I
but
mean,
certainly over the 15.
a PUD is a commercial, so that's really pretty much goes without saying, then you can just present a plan. When you get this subdivision site plan approval.
The PUDs are commercial.
Say that again.
Did you just say the PUDs are commercial for residential PUDs?
Well, usually we do a site plan review when we do a PUD.
Right.
Right,
Okay,
something like that, they have a stormwater
Plan unit
management plan
development,
anyway.
where they can
plan,
cluster.
okay.
I mean, I think we're talking about single family homes here. I think that's what the way the discussion came out.
But some of your single family homes are in developments with an AOT that has certain requirements that also triggers stormwater management. Some of the developments have a requirement that, as we just found out recently, that the original AOT was for the roads and infrastructure, but the individual lots are responsible for a net zero runoff. So that's one of your triggers is whatever the AOT was for that development, I would think.
I would agree with that, because if the AOT took into consideration there's gonna be X amount of flow off of this lot.
Right.
Then that's already been accounted for in the stormwater system of the whole development.
Right.
If they exceed that, or if the anticipated runoff was zero, which then they're of course gonna exceed that, that would trigger stormwater
So
management.
that during the permitting process, we have to look at that at staff level is what
Do we-
But that's the question. Who determines that? The staff level or do they?
Well, that's an administrative function.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to weigh in on this discussion?
I mean, Ray, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I can, maybe I can help out here. I mean, I think, you know, and I think I've, you know, mentioned this previously, but when it comes to, you know, this disturbed area, technically speaking, to meet the intent and purpose of your stormwater management area or your stormwater management ordinance, all areas disturbed by construction activity should be included. It's the way the state looks at it. That's the way our industry looks at it. I don't know how to say it more simply than that. So whether the disturbance is on the lot or the disturbance is within the right of way, adjoining and abutting the lot, it should be included. As far as the definition of a lot, you do have a definition in your land use ordinance for that definition, and that's the definition that we use when we apply the technical standards to the reviews.
50% of the lot.
No, I'm just talking about the lot itself. There is a definition of lot in your
Okay.
in your land use ordinance, and we use that definition as part of, you know, we apply that definition to the technical reviews.
One of the things we were going to do was to try and reduce the amount, the on-site disturbances so that people wouldn't have to come in. And we did that by going to 17,000 square.
Right,
17,000.
that's,
Right.
that's how we did it.
5%.
That's how you achieved it. So you achieved, I believe in your vote and your recommendation for consideration at town meeting, you achieved what I understood you wanted to achieve by the language that you have already presented to town meeting and voted on at your previous planning board meeting.
So then the disturbance means on-site, on-lot and off-lot disturbances.
Yeah, just consider simply the way to think about it simply is that all areas disturbed by the construction activity are included in the calculation for area of disturbance. It's, when you think about it, it's common sense when it comes to your stormwater management ordinance, because again, the intent and purpose of your stormwater management ordinance is to control peak, rate, and volume runoff coming from that site post-construction and to mitigate sediment and erosion from the site during construction.
But I guess,
technically speaking, what you should consider all construction activity in the analysis.
but I guess, right, my question would be, if the contractor is, say, putting in a water or sewer line or a utility line and they're going out to the main road to connect on, or going to a pole box or a pedestal, and they're just doing that as a temporary 1 or 2 day thing, does that really have to be included in a total disturbance? Because that's already been, they're gonna put that back to the same standard that it was before they did that, and that really kind of, I don't.
Not necessarily, Paul, I can tell you that doesn't always happen. Sometimes they have to cut through woods. Sometimes, you know, it's a different, you know, sometimes they have to, you know, clear an area in order to get utilities in the ground. So you can't, there's not a one size fits all here. The one size fits all is, you know, do look at it the way to look at it correctly from a technical standpoint. Again, any construction activity related to the development should be included in the area of disturbance. If you intend to meet, if you want to meet the intent and purpose of your stormwater management ordinance, that's the benchmark.
Well, I guess we've already got this on the warrant. So we should probably go with that and include everything for now. And then if we find out that it's causing issues, we can readdress it.
We can tweak the definition next year.
They can still come in for a waiver if they had.
Right, they can always.
Exact. That's a great point that Ron brings up. They can always come in for a waiver. There's nothing that says these single family homeowners can't come in for a waiver. And if it meets whatever criteria that the board decides they should meet, then grant them the waiver.
Right, so if someone was coming in with a standard lot going out into the road and they weren't gonna disturb a whole bunch of woods and trees and everything to just connect onto water, sewer and utilities, you might give them a
Well,
waiver for that.
if they were digging up a grassy area.
Right.
Well, in some cases, a 315 excavator and some of this bony material that we have in town here may not get the job done. They may have to use a bigger machine. They could come before you and say, well, instead of a 10-foot wide path, I need to do a 15-foot wide path for my track width for a 325 excavator, pull those boulders, put my water line
What boulders?
in. Well, I'm just saying,
I know.
but the option's there that they could come in for a waiver with good justification and you as a board could make a rational decision on that.
Well, we're just giving them the
Well, I'll-
additional 2,000 square feet to fool
Right.
around with.
Right.
I'll make a motion that we include on-lot and off-lot disturbances.
We don't need to, we're already doing it.
Okay, well, we were trying to figure it out, so I
I
decided
would put it on the record to make a motion that we direct the staff.
consider
to con-
on-lot and off-lot disturbances
In calculating
and
stormwater.
calculating stormwater.
I'll
Make that
second.
motion.
I'll second that motion.
All right. Anyone else? All in favor?
Yeah.
Opposed? All right, get done. Any other business?
You don't have
Well,
another
Motion to
date.
adjourn?
No, not yet.
Well, we're gonna do minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have 2 minutes.
Oh, we have 3 of them. Let's-
All right.
Okay, this one looks good.
Consideration of the meeting minutes for December 8th, 2021. Does anyone have any changes?
Excuse me, Jim, if I can interrupt, do you still need me?
We're all set. Thank you,
Thanks,
Ray.
Ray.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank
Right.
you. Forgot about you. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve December 8th.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. That was easy.
All right. January 26th, 2022 minutes. Any changes, comments, or corrections?
Yeah, I'd like to change something.
When the January 5th?
Line 499. We changed member vote demanded to member vote question.
499?
Okay, wait.
Oh, yeah, asked.
Question asked, question to know.
Member vote, yeah,
Okay, let's
Ask.
start with,
wanted to know, say
499.
wanted instead of demanded, please.
So asked. What
Oh,
do you want?
wanted, is that what you said?
Member Bowden wanted to know whether Mr. Corber was aware of any specific.
I think you
Something else, so-
in a couple of spaces, one of the builders is in yellow. Is that because we couldn't hear who asked the
Yeah, you
question?
couldn't tell who asked it.
What was the question? I don't remember.
The state of New Hampshire has different rules for different situations, and the state allows for a temporary disturbance to tie into utilities. It's probably Taylor.
It was- I think it was Stuart Anderson, one of that group there that was asking. the
Oh,
question.
well, there also was the Horizons engineer here.
Oh, John was Zonka.
That, I think it was him that brought that up.
Okay.
So that's on page 13, 14,
We've,
and then on page 10.
Okay, so I'm gonna put John in both of those. Okay,
And that's 381, I would say it means the development. Just the development meets the intended consequences. For 383, it says, what is it? And
okay.
develop.
yeah, it is important to
Okay.
make sure that we say that, OJ, because on lines 488 and 489. We did say that owners should not be penalized for having disturbed areas outside of their own lot, so it's important to put that in this, because we've changed from that.
Yeah, well, that's, that's what was said at the meeting, so.
Right.
Right.
So we have changes, so we want to make sure to include that in these minutes.
In this week's minutes, you mean.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this week's, yeah.
Any other changes?
Nope.
All right, is there a motion to approve these minutes?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
And I will abstain, I was not here.
All right, February 9th, 2022 minutes.
The only thing I have here. April's a resident, he's not a resident, because the one before that says not a resident.
Oh, yeah,
Same with Mary Con.
they all changed it.
That's it, that's the only thing that's the only thing that I have.
Anything
I'll
else?
just take the yellow route.
What's that?
I'll just take the yellow route.
Yeah, I think you're all right. Anything else on February 9th? Your motion to approve the changes?
So move.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Not a big one.
Any other business?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Wait, one thing, Steve, I happened to look at the ballot on the way in, and I don't see your name.
I don't know. Am I up?
Yeah, you're up.
I didn't even know. We have to sign up or something?
You have to be right.
You're gonna be write-in
You
now.
have to be a write-in,
Oh.
but what some people do is they just have a little slip with their name on it, and they stand out front. And some people do mailings, some people.
What's the minimum vote?
I didn't even know it was that
What's it?
time.
I can't get say that again.
Well, I think,
You're up too?
I think
Yeah,
just,
because I remember we were together
I
last
think
time.
you only have to get like 3.
Boy, that went like fast. What is it, 3 years?
3 years. Is it,
Wow.
is there a motion to adjourn?
We were
I
doing
remember.
it.
Second, all right, Joe seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
But we done that.